Kiss Your Mate Day, and National Blueberry Pie Day, to name a few. There was throw pie, brat pie. I could have done that. So I looked for a poem. I wanted something that encompassed Sierra Madre, so I looked, little Google searching to find Sierra Madre or Sierra Madre themed. I did find one on social media that somebody posted. Their great grandmother wrote in the 1950s, but it was specifically about our city. And I think kind of the reason for poetry is that it's art and it can fit, most situations. So I've just found one that wasn't specific to Sierra Madre. And this was written by Henry Van Dyke sometime in the early 20th century, but it's more stylized in the mid 19th century. And it's called Sierra Madre. So forgive me for the old English. O mother mountains, billowing far to the snowlands, robed in aerial amethyst, silver and blue. Why do ye look so proudly down in the lowlands? What have their groves and gardens to do with you? Theirs is the languorous charm of the orange and myrtle. Theirs are the fruitage and fragrance of Eden and old. Broad-bowed oaks in the meadows far and fertile, dark leaf orchards gleaming with globes of gold. You in your solitude standing lofty and lonely, bear neither garden nor grove on your barren breast. Rough is the rock-loving growth of your canyons, and only storm-battered pines and fir trees cling to your crests. Why are ye throned so high and arrayed in splendor, richer than all the fields at your feet can claim? What is your right, ye rugged peaks, to the tender, queenly promise and pride of the mother name? Answered the mountains, dim in the distance dreaming. Ours are the forests that treasure the riches of rain. Ours are the secret springs and the rivulets gleaming silverly down through the manifold bloom on the plain. Vain were the tolling of men in the dust of the dry land. Vain were the plowing and planting in waterless fields. Save for the life-giving currents we send from the skyland, save from the fruit our embrace with the storm cloud yields. O Mother Mountain, Madre Sierra, I love you. Rightly you reign over the vale that your bounty fills. Kissed by the sun, or with big bright stars above you, I murmur your name and lift up mine eyes to the hills. That's it.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, can we please have the roll call?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Mayor Christine Lowe,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss,
Here.
Councilmember Edward Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly Krebs,
Here.
and Councilmember Robert Parkhurst.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum?
Thank you so much. Do we have a report from the City Council regarding closed session, please?
Mayor, the City Council met in closed session to discuss two items. The first is conference with labor negotiator. No reportable action was taken. And on the second, conference with real property negotiator. Again, no reportable action was taken.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk Aguilar, do we have any supplemental information from the City Clerk regarding the agenda items?
There is none from the City Clerk's office, Madam.
Thank you. Can I please have the reports from the City Council and myself?
I don't know, can you?
From you all.
Well, Madam Mayor, unless I'm forgetting something, I have nothing to report.
Madam Mayor?
Please.
I attended the Library Board of Trustees meeting last night, and they are hip deep, I guess I should say, in plans for the opening on June 6th. It should be a great time in terms of both there's going to be an actual ceremony in terms of the opening, as well as a block party style festival of sorts with booths and activities, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And then we also got an update from Vertex on the progress of the building itself, and things seem to be progressing along with the normal, hiccups that always accompany any building a project, especially one of this magnitude, but nothing I think that anyone is worried about, inhibiting the progress. I guess the biggest news for the community is that there are books on shelves at the new library, at the old new library. And so they're expecting the bulk of the books at the current location to be transported over the next week. And so vast majority of the collection will be on shelves in our new library. Yeah, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members' reports?
I can go.
Please.
On April 16th, I attended the San Gabriel Valley COG meeting for representing Sierra Madre, and the majority part of the meeting was a presentation from Southern California Edison. It was helpful to get an update from them. I think the last time we had a public presentation was at council on September 23rd, so it'd been a while since we'd heard from them. They talked through some of their goals, looking to, what they're seeing is that in their region, in our region, in their territory, we're going to double energy use by 2045, which is really, we would think it would be driven by data centers with all the news, but actually in Edison's territory, it's going to be driven by housing electrification and transportation electrification. They are working on a program called Ready Grid, which is helping cities get things connected to the grid faster because there's a growing demand for interconnection. And then there was some discussion about SCC Rule 20, which converts overhead to underground, and some cities has allocations through Rule 20A, but that does not apply to us, unfortunately. And then also on April 16th, I attended the Clean Power Alliance Executive Committee meeting where we discussed rate setting approach and budget priorities. And April 22nd was an Energy Committee meeting where we discussed the annual request for offers, the request for energy. And we're, among other things, CPA is looking for expansions of current projects where they would either add batteries to existing renewable energy projects or vice versa, add renewable energy to battery projects. There has been a little bit of confusion about Clean Power Alliance Online, I've noticed over the past 2 weeks. And I just want to take a brief second here to give my high-level view of Clean Power Alliance. And to me, it's all about choice. So as a member, as a enrollee in the Clean Power Alliance program, you can choose a rate that is cheaper than Southern California Edison. So in its 10 years of existence, Clean Power Alliance has always had at least one rate that's cheaper than Edison's. You can choose to pay a little bit more to get 100% renewable energy, or you can choose to stay with Southern California Edison. It's all up to you. But one of the biggest advantages with CPA is all about local control. It's the reason why cities join it, it's the reason why we joined it. And the residents of Sierra Madre have 5 opportunities every month to ask questions and give their opinions about where their energy comes from. And those 5 opportunities are 2 city council meetings. As I mentioned just more, there's the executive committee meeting, there is a board meeting, and there's the energy committee meeting. So it's a real benefit to all of our residents if you want to have a say in where your electrons come from and how we get and what energy we get. It's one of the benefits of CPA. And then finally, last Wednesday, I went to a history on the Mount Wilson Trail Race. It was a really good presentation. It was a packed room. I want to give kudos to Jeff Lapidus, who gave the ancient history of the race, going all the way back to its inception, I think in 1908, to Pete Siberel, who kind of brought us up to from the 90s to today, and then to Bob Spears for looking at the future going forward and giving us a lot of recent history of the race, especially with respect to the fires. He had some wonderful drone footage and pictures of what the trail actually looked like after the fire and the rains. And oh my God, it was the work that the race committee has done and the trail crew has done is just outstanding. And I think it's best in class of any trail building organization I've ever seen. And then finally, I want to give kudos to Oscar from our IT department. We were having some trouble over at the Hart Park House getting everything connected. And Oscar came over, made sure we got all the connections and stayed through the presentation. And I don't know if that presentation would have gone off. It definitely wouldn't have gone off as well. I don't know if it would have gone off at all with the computer hiccups they were having without him there. So kudos to him and huge thanks.
And
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. Thank you, Councilmember Parkers, for filling in for me at COG the 60th. That was very helpful. Since then, I've had a chance to communicate with COG President Ed Reese about the developing San Gabriel Valley Bear Incident Response Program. We're getting closer and closer to a program where we're not there yet, but we're getting closer, working with several other cities in the San Gabriel Valley through COG to getting to a point where we can bring a brand-new fish and wildlife person on board housed in Monrovia at COG to service our city and the cities near us who are having issues with bears. Again, we're not there yet, but we're getting closer every week, so I will keep you updated on that. Also, I couldn't make the library ad hoc meeting as well. The last library ad hoc meeting was on the 21st, and I got to say that the news was good. We're echoing what Councilmember Creed said. We're on track for a June 6th opening. There are a few hiccups that you might expect anytime a major building project is concluding, but nothing that's going to keep us from moving forward and opening up on time. So that's great news. And I did attend the County Sanitation Board's meeting last week, filling in for the mayor. Nothing really to report of significance. Madam Mayor?
yes.
Sorry, just one more on the library, because this is a deadline coming up. So there is one, obviously you can always give money to, to the library, but in terms of their official programs, there's one program still open until May 15th, and that is to donate, and they will put your name on essentially a faux book spine that then will be placed on the end caps of some of the shelving. So that is, I think, a minimum of $250 donation. The deadline for that, in order to have your plate up in time for the opening, is May 15th. Obviously, they will take your money at any time, and there is going to be the ability to augment both the donor wall in some way and obviously these book spine presentations at the end. But in terms of wanting to be there for the opening, the deadline is the 15th. So,
Thank you. So I attended the Planning Commission meeting on 4/16, and one of the items you will see tonight at 444 North Lima Street, and that's part of our agenda item. And then the municipal code was discussed on ADUs, which if you have ever seen the more confusing wording on codes, that would be something that you should come visit and try to help understand, with the benefit of our city attorney really trying to help everybody understand. So that's a lot of work they're putting into this. So we have to thank the Planning Commission and our city attorney. I attended the Cal Cities Leadership Summit this last week, which was very exciting. We got to meet with all the different legislators that kind of are looking at the bills that are applicable to Sierra Madre, including wildlife, fire recovery, some education for our school districts, and a few other things. And so it was really great to work with other cities like Monrovia, South Pasadena, and Claremont, and about our bear issues, and see what they're going through. And it's also just a good idea to go and really learn about what is coming forward and how we can advocate or for or against measures that really do affect us. So that was a great experience. I also had some great professional development on AI and how important it really is to cities now, and how it can really reduce costs without reducing people and that comfortability you have with being in front of someone and being able to discuss with someone. It's also a faster way to do research and stuff like that. So it was really kind of interesting. And then yesterday, the day before yesterday, I attended an event at the United Nations Association in Pasadena I was invited to, and it was Respect My Crown, and it was a really great documentary that will be released soon about the different women, African-American women leaders through all the eras, and how that's affected legislation, and especially California, how, as usual, we are the first states to really push forward with all types of different equitable measures. And then right after that, I got to attend the Sierra Madre Rotary Interact Club. If you don't know about this, it is a fantastic club of 12 to 18-year-olds. And these amazing students and children and teens meet, and they do community service. They address issues that are relevant and problems in our cities and our communities, and they do really great work. And so I was able to present to them and tell them like what city council really does and what city staff does. And I presented them with a problem, say the e-bikes. And I said, it's your voices are important. You need to come join our student commissioner positions or our teen commissioner positions. And you need to give us your input, because these are the rules that will be affecting you, and you have great input insight that we don't have. So I moved that forward to all of our youth in our city to really have a voice, and parents. So that was a great experience. All right, on to what's coming up, not in the past. So there is an upcoming senior excursion to the Metro Union Station on May 12th from 10:30 to 4 p.m., and they will be stopping at Felipe's for lunch, and you can purchase those tickets separately. Tickets are $20, and there are flyers on the back, on the table in the back. You can still register for the Mount Wilson Trail Race. I will be there to shoot you on and wish you well. And I'm so excited that is back on so quickly this year. We're excited for that. Registration is a first-come, first basis. There are flyers in the back as well. And of course, it's very limited because you cannot put too many people on our trails running all up and down at the same time. On behalf of the police department, the fire department, and city staff and the city council, we would like to extend our thoughts, prayers, and support to our former volunteer, Doug Seisk, now residing in Colorado, who is recovering from a recent stroke and medical complications. We also have a current Sierra Madre volunteer, Robert Bob Taylor, who was also on the fire department prior to being a volunteer on the police department, who recently suffered a heart attack this week. And thanks to the quick response of our officers and our first responders, both are recovering at home. We wish both Doug and Bob a full and speedy recovery. And I want to express our condolences to the Smith family. They are a 3-generation family in town that owned the old hardware store that used to be where Chase Bank is now, and have been lifelong proponents and neighbors of ours. And Ben Smith passed away from leukemia this last Monday. And then, let's see, and upcoming in the next week, Councilmember Garcia and I will be attending the SCAG conference. And what we hope to gain from there, a lot of different traffic research projects. We really want to look at what the area is doing in regards to sustainability, and especially with our concerns over traffic and how we can better serve our city. And then the nominations for Grand Marshal for our 4th of July parade are still open for 2 more days. They'll be closed on 4:30. So you can either go to sponsor@sierramadreevents.org, or you can go online, and there's a QR code on social media if you go to Sierra Madre Events Committee. And I think that is it for announcements. Okay. Reports from city staff. City Clerk Aguilar.
Madam Mayor, planning, senior planner, thank you. Josh Wolf would like to give a presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Wolf.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, I have a short informational update on the Meadows at Bailey Canyon development. So when construction began, Andrew Dutton was the project manager for Toll Brothers and the city's primary point of contact. As of March 26th, Mr. Dutton is no longer working with Toll Brothers. In place of Andrew, Jonathan Frankel, who has long been involved with the planning of the project, is, as of April 13th, providing the city with weekly updates. So on April 13th, grading operations continued across the site. Grading was approximately 70% complete at that time. Retaining wall construction also continued and will be ongoing for several weeks thereafter. Work on the Carter Avenue sewer extension into the project site also continued, and the next sewer infrastructure is now just below the retreat center and will turn into the internal streets on the following week. Work on the new storm drain system is anticipated in the next few weeks. Excuse me. Ongoing dust control measures continued in that week, which included 4 hours of street sweeping on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to ensure the area's streets were clean after the hauling of heavy equipment and the hauling of soils. There are also 2 extra water trucks on site to minimize the dust. And as of April 20th, grading operations continued. And at that point, they were 80% complete. Retaining wall installation did resume in that week with the construction of block walls. Trenching continued in that week to support the installation of the new sewer, water, and storm drain facilities. And grading continued. Grading and utility trenching are anticipated to be completed in fall of 2026. Erosion and dust control measures continue to be implemented daily to ensure compliance with applicable AQMD regulations. Street sweeping continues to occur on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every week. And also provided was an overall milestones schedule. So in fall of 2026, as I've already said, grading and wet utility installation is expected to be completed. By winter of 2027, street paving is expected to be completed. Also in winter of 2027 is the start of home construction. And then by summer of 2027, we expect to have a model home open. In spring of 2028, we expect to have 50% of homes completed and the public park completed. And then by winter of 2029, we expect 100% of homes to be completed. And regarding air quality testing, I kind of wanted to elaborate a little bit more on that. So in the week of April 13th, it was reported that voluntary air quality monitoring was ongoing. And I want to emphasize voluntary there because it is not a requirement of the city that the developers do air quality monitoring. This is something that they are doing on their own, and it is not something that the city has oversight on. There are 2 monitors that are set on the site's perimeter. These monitors continuously analyze air moving through and across the property for compliance with published standards set forth by the South Coast Air Quality Management District. If an exceedance is detected, an alert is sent to the environmental consultants and the project team. There were no alerts that week, and in fact, there have not been any alerts sent to the environmental consultants to date. Next month, the City Council will be receiving an annual report on the progress of the development as stipulated under the development agreement for this project. And this information that I've said today and more can be found online at the city's website at sierramadreca.gov/meadows. That concludes my report.
One further update. The weekly updates that we receive from the developer will be posted to the website, as well as the project timeline, the refined project timeline that Senior Planner Wolf provided is also going to be posted to the website. And then at the next City Council meeting, I believe you're going to have an item related to the Meadows project. That's going to be a water main replacement agreement along Carter Avenue.
But they are not posted as of now. They will be posted.
They will be posted. So we expect this week's report to come in tomorrow and then will be posted this week as well.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
2 questions. Did you say spring 28 for the park is going to be done? Or did I
Yep,
get that?
the public park will be completed based on their schedule as of spring of 2028.
And assuming it's done, then that implied it'll be open for the public?
That is assumed to be the case because there will be model homes available before then.
Right.
The streets will be available for use by the public.
Right, yeah, that's correct. The water trucks you mentioned, two of them, do we know that that's adequate to keep the dust down on a really windy day, or has it even come up as a
Well, it hasn't come up
An
as
issue?
a concern. It hasn't come up as an issue either because there hasn't been any, through the air quality monitoring, there hasn't been any exceedances
Right.
detected.
right? So I assume that that's good news then. the water is not being needed as much.
That's correct. In
Yeah.
addition, there are occasionally AQMD inspectors on site that are
Okay.
called by request of residents who are concerned about the dust control there. And there haven't been any reportable action from AQMD on that end.
Really? Thank you for that.
Just to follow up on that point, I had the question about who has jurisdiction over the air quality monitoring. You mentioned AQMD, but you're saying that the monitoring that the developer is doing is voluntary even under their standards, or are they obligated under the AQMD jurisdiction to provide that monitoring?
They are not obligated under AQMD to provide that monitoring, but they are obligated to meet the standards of AQMD. So to do that and to achieve that, they're doing monitoring.
I see. And then it sounds like AQMD is aware of that and is monitoring the monitoring to some degree.
I assume that they have some oversight on the environmental consultants.
And just to clarify a point, they're required to impose some mitigation measures under AQMD regulations. For example, the watering of the soil to make sure that there's dust mitigation. But the monitoring itself is not required at all by any government agency. So that's a totally voluntary obligation they've taken upon themselves.
Okay, thank you. And then one question in terms of providing notice of the annual report that the developer will give, I think you said the next meeting. Are we doing any particular outreach to the neighboring community to make them aware of that? I know we often get told that folks are not aware of things. I'd like to make sure that folks are aware that that report is coming.
I don't think that there will be any noticing, or that there are any noticing requirements for the meeting to be held to consider the report. But the report, once it's filed and received by City Council, will be posted online for the public to view.
I know at one point when we did the downtown district, when we did the replacement of the water main up at North Woodland in the canyon, that there was an email address collected of the neighbors up there, and a report was sent out every 2 weeks or 1 week, depending on the project. Have we thought about being able to do that just with those particular neighbors that might have difficulty getting onto the website, and would be easier just to shoot them an email of these updates? Or would that be too tasking?
I mean, the intent of the website is to provide sort of free and transparent information for the public to have access. I don't think it takes that much additional effort to send an email, but I don't know about the frequency and staff's workload. I'd have to talk to the director.
It was
and
just
get back to the
it was
council.
one of the best things we've heard, feedback from all the people in the downtown district, all the businesses and all the neighbors up in the canyon, that this was the easiest way for them to find information was just to get their weekly update, and it was just simple. And I think at the time, Public Works was doing that. So I know this is different. It's not Public Works doing it, but it was great feedback on how to, and especially if it is someone who's elderly or doesn't use the computer as much, it is a little harder to search and find that update. Just a suggestion. My other question would be, there was a schedule that was set in the agreements on when the park had to be built and when the phases were playing out. Does that schedule seem to follow the schedule you've told us that they have for the dates?
Yes, I believe the schedule says that the permit for the park has to be pulled by the construction of the 11th house. And so it is anticipated that the park will be completed at the same time as 50% of the homes will be completed. So by then, I do assume that that will be able to align with permitting of the 11th house.
Does that mean that by winter 2027 with the paving, that also means that the One Carter part of the project has to be completed? Because that had to be completed before the building of Phase 2 houses, I believe?
You're saying the widening of Carter,
Yes.
correct? Yeah, yes, that is actually one of the next upcoming items on their schedule.
Okay, great, thank you so much. Any other questions?
So just to follow up, don't know that I was exactly clear. So when is the widening of Connor going to happen? Is it going to be winter of 20?
I don't have an exact date, but it is expected to happen soon. So I would place it near fall of 2026 and a little bit thereafter. It actually also depends on scheduling with LA County as well.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, presentations. We have a proclamation for Armenian genocide, which was just April 24th. So we have a proclamation for Danny Donabedian for Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. And I appreciate being able to come up and see you again, Danny. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure, Mayor.
Of course. Thank you so much. So let me use the microphone here. Thank you. So in honor of Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, which is now a nationally honored day of remembrance, whereas from 1915 to 1923, 1.5 million Armenians lost their lives at the hands of the Ottoman Empire as part of a systematic program of genocide. And whereas the Armenian genocide is a tragic example of what fear and intolerance of others led to, the city of Sierra Madre is dedicated to remembering the atrocities committed against the Armenian nation and all humanity. And whereas Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day commemorates this tragedy and helps people understand the need to eliminate fear and other hatred from our own communities. And whereas, as we remember the past, we must dedicate ourselves to rebuilding a greater future by educating our community about the Armenian genocide and other crimes against humanity, as a testament to mankind's indomitable spirit. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council of City of Sierra Madre celebrates the Armenian spirit and hereby pays tribute and recognition to those who have suffered because of the Armenian genocide. And just to highlight this too, it's not just these last dates that the Armenian genocide has taken place. In the last 5 years, Armenians have also been attacked and pushed out of their homelands in the atrocities that are happening in Azerbaijan, and so it's Artsakh. And so we want to also commemorate all of the diligence and all of the atrocities that Armenians have gone through in this last century itself as well. So this is to help all of us recognize the atrocities that happened over 100 years ago, as well as continue to happen, and try to say no more.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Oh, sure, and then I'm sure you have some words.
Yes. Let me flip it. There we go. Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Mayor Lowe eloquently read everything. I mean, my speeches every year are getting shorter and shorter when I come here. So thank you for helping. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Danny Donabedian. I'm the chairperson of the Armenian National Committee, Pasadena. Good evening to you all. Honorable Mayor Christine Lowe, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss, Honorable City Council members, honored guests. As we commemorate the 111th anniversary of the Armenian genocide and the 1.5 million genocide victims we memorialize today, the world has yet to hold the perpetrators of that heinous genocide, in this case Turkey, answerable to their deeds. Today, that accountability is still pending. The clock is ticking. Should the Turks think, hope, or pray, for one, there is no such thing as a moratorium on genocides committed. That day will come. We hope that day is very near. Every year, members of the Armenian National Committee Pasadena assemble here before you with conviction, in solidarity with the Armenian American community, in pursuit of justice, to raise awareness of the Armenian genocide and the cause itself that it deserves, and to provide assurances to the esteemed members of the Armenian diaspora that the ANCA will be there for them, will never abandon them, and that we will pursue their cause in perpetuity until one day we recover our beautiful ancestral lands. On behalf of the ANCA Pasadena, we would like to extend our profound gratitude to the City of Sierra Madre for presenting the Armenian National Committee with the Genocide Proclamation. We would also like to thank this esteemed dais and its mayor, the Honorable Christine Lowe, the Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss, and distinguished members of the City Council for inviting the ANCA, Pasadena, to today's ever so important day of remembrance to reflect on the 1.5 million fallen martyrs of the Armenian nation, whose lives, even after 111 years, matter as much today and more as it did on April 24, 1915. A note of appreciation. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude to City Manager and the Honorable Michael Bruckner, City Attorney Alex Giragosian, and of course, the city's executive assistant, the irreplaceable Roberta Malfitano, who, like clockwork, is gracious enough to arrange and ensure the Genocide Proclamation presentation is in City Council's agenda around this time every year. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Danny. All right. We have public comment for items not on the agenda. Any person wishing to speak before the City Council is asked to complete a speaker card and provide it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per person, and time may not be delegated. Any changes to the allotted time will be told prior to public comment period. Under the Brown Act, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. Persons with disabilities who require a disability-related modification or accommodation in order to participate in the meeting, including auxiliary aids or services, may request such modifications and accommodations from the city clerk. And we have a microphone here if you needed it. Addressing the City Council from the audience, I was skipping that. Let's see. Only public comment made from the podium will be recognized and from the microphone for those who need it. Do we have any comments for public comment not on the agenda?
Madam Mayor, the city clerk's office received one email that was forwarded to the city council for items not on the agenda. No speaker cards were submitted in advance.
Wow, all right, thank you so much.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
didn't we not receive 2 emails, I thought?
one was on the agenda.
One was on the agenda. My apologies. Thank you.
All right, then let's move on to public hearing. Any persons wish to, public hearing, we have 2 items, report on vacancies, recruitment and retention efforts in compliance with Assembly Bill 2561, and another resolution 2631 about the tentative parcel map. So can we please have do we have a presentation for report on vacancies? Oh, thank you so much.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is a brief presentation for Assembly Bill 2561, a public hearing for vacancy reporting. In September 2024, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 2561, requiring municipal agencies hold a public hearing to report vacancies among the various bargaining groups prior to adoption of the annual budget. If the number of job vacancies within a single bargaining unit meets or exceeds 20% of the total number of authorized full-time positions, staff will be required to provide a more extensive report at the request of said bargaining group. Currently, we have budgeted for 91 full-time positions and 20,080 part-time hours. As of April 14th, 2026, when this report was prepared, we have 4 vacancies that include 1 administrative analyst, 1 police sergeant, and 2 police dispatchers. Here we can see the breakdown of vacancy rates by bargaining group. The Sierra Madre Police Association is the only bargaining group that currently has vacancies for 3 positions. No bargaining group currently exceeds a 20% vacancy rate. As of April 14th, we have had a total of 9 job postings with 8 full-time and 1 part-time. Thus far, we have hired 13 new full-time employees and promoted 1 employee. Some of the positions filled include recruitments that occurred in the previous fiscal year, and some job postings could be used to fill several vacancies for the same position. For example, one police officer recruitment could be used to fill 3 or multiple police officer vacancies. During our review in compliance with Assembly Bill 2561, no obstacles were identified in our current hiring procedures or policies, and all current vacancies have recruitments in progress. This annual public hearing for Assembly Bill 2561 has no fiscal impact to the city's operating budget. At this time, staff recommends that the City Council receive and file this report. This concludes my presentation. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from council?
Madam Mayor,
Please.
you said that one position could be used to meet multiple vacancies. Can you state that again? I'm not sure I quite followed that.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Parkhurst. Yes, we could have several positions, for example, multiple police officer positions or multiple firefighter positions. One vacancy may be used to fill those multiple vacancies at one time. So we may post one recruitment that serves to pull several candidates to fill those positions.
And we have to do that to be able to meet the 20%, to be able to make sure we're hiring people to avoid the 20% vacancy rate. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for the report. So we increased budgeted part-time by 920 hours. If you know, what is the minimum or the maximum amount of hours somebody could work without becoming, let's say, a personable employee?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Garcia. I believe that threshold is about 980 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
So we effectively we added one more budgeted position for one part-time employee, just below, so that wouldn't hit that mark.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And is that, do we kind of have a blanket, we have open part-time positions, or are they specific to departments like the police department, the library? Where are we seeing those part-time positions?
They're spread across multiple departments, but primarily I think the police department, the library, and some in community services as well.
Do those count toward the 20% vacancy rate on a kind of a pro rata basis? So I guess it'd be like two part-time positions would be like one FTE? Is that how it works?
I don't think so. I believe we just focus primarily on budgeted full-time
On
positions.
the 91 full-time? Okay,
Yes.
that's very helpful, thank you.
Any other questions? I just had one. Seems to be a vast difference than last year. It seems to be, we did a great job at being fully staffed, and our turnover looks like it's a lot less. So we really appreciate all of the hard work you guys did in reporting this, and to all the department heads that have done their due diligence and kept us in a fully staffed city. Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry about that. Is there any public comment on our compliance to Assembly Bill 2561 for recruitment, retention, and vacancy efforts?
There were no speaker comments submitted, Madam Mayor.
And any discussion?
I think you said it well.
Thank you. All right, so we will receive and file. Resolution 2631 for tentative parcel map, request to subdivide an existing property at 444 North Lima.
Madam Mayor, if I may, the council still, I think, needs to take a formal motion to receive
To
and
receive
file.
and file?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. May I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sorry. And do we have senior, okay, thank you so much. So this is for Resolution 26-31 for the tentative parcel map at 444 North Lima. And that's Lima, not Lima, everybody, Lima. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Lowe. Good evening, City Council. Tonight, the City Council will be reviewing tentative parcel map 25-01, request to subdivide an existing property located at 444 North Lima Street into 3 parcels.
Say it however you'd like.
The project site is located on the top of Lima Street, a bit south of West Carter Avenue. The land use designation of the site is residential low density and is within the R1 single-family residential zone. Properties bounding this site are also zoned within the same single-family residential zone. The existing lot is currently 30,872 square feet, which is proposed to be subdivided into 3 parcels. Currently, near the center of the site is an existing single-family residence that was built in 1948, as well as an existing carport adjacent to it. Both of these structures are proposed to be demolished. With this application, and historic resource evaluation report was also prepared and concluded that neither of these structures are or qualify as a historic resource under local, state, or national level. Towards the west side of the property, there is an existing block wall and gate that currently acts as an entryway to the property. And lastly, there are currently 7 protected tree species on the property, 2 of which are proposed to be removed due to poor health and damage conditions. On screen are some existing site photographs where we can see the existing single-family residence, the existing carport, as well as the front gates and block wall with the existing vegetation on site. As a reminder, the City Council will be considering the request to subdivide the existing single-family residence into 3 parcels with a shared driveway. For each proposed parcel, moving west to east, parcel 1, indicated in the orange, has a proposed net lot area of 8,611 square feet. Parcel 2 has a net lot area of 8,547 square feet. And lastly, parcel 3 in the green will be 9,599 square feet. All parcels are within the minimum lot size requirement under the R1 zone as well. On the southern end of southern portion of the parcel map is the proposed shared driveway that begins at a width of 15 feet and extends throughout to 24 feet throughout each parcel. Also want to note the Los Angeles Flood Control District easement located in the southeastern portion of parcel 3. This proposed subdivision and future proposed projects are not anticipated to affect this easement in any way. However, the applicant was in contact with the LA County Public Works Department in regards to this easement. This application for the tentative parcel map does require the City Council to make the following findings pursuant to Sierra Madre Municipal Code Section 16.12.070, and that this proposed map is consistent with the Sierra Madre General Plan and its zoning requirements, that the site is suitable for development, given that the existing lot is currently used for residential purposes, that the project is not likely to cause substantial damage to the environment or cause public health problems. And lastly, there are no conflicts with any public access easements or improvements. And further explanation on these findings are provided in the City Council resolution attached to the agenda report. This project does qualify for a Class 15 category exemption for minor land divisions under Section 15315 of the California Environmental Quality Act, and that this subdivision consists of a division of land of 4 parcels or less. And with this application, the City Council may adopt City Council Resolution 2631 as presented, conditionally approving tentative parcel map 25-01, or adopt the resolution with modifications, or deny the request, identifying the findings that the City Council cannot make on the basis of rejecting those findings, or continue the public hearing, providing direction to staff and the applicant. It is recommended that the City Council adopt the resolution as presented, conditionally approving this tentative parcel map. Sorry.
About that.
That concludes my presentation. I am happy to answer any questions the council may have. The applicant and property owner are present as well, and I do believe the property owner may have an oral report to share.
Would you like questions before that, or should we do their presentation first?
Either way works.
Do you guys have questions before that? Okay, we'll have some questions. Thank you so much, Assistant Planner Wang. Go ahead. Councilmember Krebs.
Thank you very much. Very informational. Just a couple of questions. To be precise, the action before us tonight is solely with respect to splitting the existing lot into 3 or 3 new parcels, correct? So this is nothing to do with what, even though we had some renderings and some plans for what the eventual development will be, this action tonight has nothing to do with that. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is only for the subdivision.
So theoretically, and not, having no information, theoretically, we could approve this lot split tonight, and then the development itself not be approved for whatever reason, and then we would just have 3 lots that are unimproved, or that that are not developed yet. Is that right? Because there's still other things that would need to be approved to actually have the development.
That is correct. Thank you for the question, Councilmember Krebs. That is correct. There is a condition in the resolution for if the proposed development requires any sort of entitlement, that they submit those within a year of the approval of the sensitive parcel map.
Okay, is that why it's tentative?
It's tentative right now until we file the final map.
Okay, so we would approve tonight the tentative, and then there'd be some point in the future in which there'd be an
For the
approval of the final.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then my last question is, you mentioned that this act tonight is exempt from CEQA because it's a minor land division. Is that same exemption going to apply for the next steps in this development, or will there eventually be some sort of CEQA process of some sort?
There would be a separate categorical exemption
Okay.
under CEQA.
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you for the question. I'm going to follow up on that. So when I see the tentative parcel map in front of me, I do see footprints of structures with even like setbacks in distances. And we did receive public comment regarding Lot 3 and the setback to the wall there. So I just want to be clear, because it is in the map and we're approving the map, are we not approving like the footprint of the buildings and the setbacks right now? We're just basically approving 30,000 feet being divided by 3 and potentially the driveway, which takes away from the net area, or are we also approving kind of the lot coverage and setbacks?
Thank you for the question. Those footprints that you see in the tentative parcel map, those are conceptual. In the future, the applicant will submit full construction plans, site plans that identify the formal setback requirements.
And that normally won't come to the council unless there's a disagreement with what the planning commission comes up with, and maybe we've entertained a few appeals. So it would be, we'd only see it if there was an appeal, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And just to follow up with the staff report, there was, in the staff report, discussion about the demolition and the SAFOS report was in here as well. The demolition of the current structure, and the current structure is 2 stories, and it mentioned rebuilding 2 stories. Is that, I'm assuming that's by right, because it's current on it'll be on lot 2, that's currently a 2-story. Would that be by right? Or does that have anything, or really, does that have anything with what we're doing here today?
The proposed 2-story construction would require a design review permit. So it's a discretionary process, not a by right process.
So but it has nothing to do with what we're doing here tonight, because it is in the staff report. I just wanted to be clear what we're approving.
It was noted to show existing conditions and future tentative proposed construction.
Okay, and then I think finally, just to kind of wrap it up, there's discussion about tree removal in our report as well. There aren't many existing trees on there, so I know we have tree replacement schedules. I'm assuming with the tree removal, there'll be some type of tree replacement?
They would have to communicate with the Public Works Department. They did receive the arborist report and agreed with the recommendations by the arborist. At the time of when they do want to do the tree removal process, they'll have some sort of mitigation replacement plan.
Okay, it's very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'd like to open this for, the next presentation from our, so do we do public comment after their presentations though, correct? Presentations first. Thanks.
Good evening. Mayor Lowe, Mayor Goss, and esteemed members of the council. My name's Steve Riebele, and my family and I have lived in Sierra Madre for over 30 years. We live 3 blocks from this site, and I've driven the site because it's on my way home every night for 30 years. And I saw a little for sale sign on it that was about this big. And amongst weeds that were about this tall. So my wife Cindy and I, we believe in this community. We've raised 5 children here. And one of them, we're building a home for our daughter, 100 yards from us. And these 3 homes would be for our 3 kids. And so it's a very, very odd request. I'm sure I don't know if it's done in this state, to be honest with you. But this is the reason for these 3 lots. And we look forward to working with the city and to understand what we can do. We have some beautiful designs that are in keeping with a gorgeous property across the road. It's a beautiful Italian villa. And that's the reason why, if you haven't seen the concepts, we are truly in keeping with the neighborhood and what is occurring with these 3 homes that will be built for our 3 kids. So we raised our kids here. They went to St. Rita for Boy Scouts for many years. We have 3 Eagle Scouts. We believe in the community. My wife and I are not investors. We own 3 parcels in downtown, the Wisteria restaurant, the Village Pizzeria, and the bakery next door. So we are not fly-by-nights. We're a 110-year-old family company. I'm in the wine business called San Antonio Winery. So I believe in historical preservation and historical significance. And we've made Sierra Madre our home. I love what you're doing here. I love everything about the methodology of keeping this town wonderful, secluded. When we first moved here, my wife says we're going to live in Mayberry. And I said, yeah, it's about right. So please keep doing what you're doing. I have my son Christopher this evening, I'd like to say a few words, and then our architects who are a father-son team, Steve and Adrian Dahl. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and esteemed council people. My name is Chris Rebley. I'm Steve's son here. I'm one of his 5 wonderful children. I'd like to say I'm his best child. That's why I'm here. But I grew up in Sierra Madre. As my dad said, I remember playing baseball at Heasley Field. I learned to swim down at Sierra Madre Pool, used to run around. As a Boy Scout, we used to pass the water up to the runners up at the Mount Wilson Trail Race. Remember those fond memories? And I, like you, will probably never run that race. It seems entirely awful, but I will wave people on and cheer them on. But I do hike Mount Wilson a couple times a year. We take his grandchildren, my niece and nephew, who now live up at the top of Auburn, and we love hiking up and around Sierra Madre. And I have a 1-year-old daughter who just turned 1 last week, and I'm looking forward to raising her in one of those houses right there on, I've always called it Lima, but we will call it Lima from here on out. I will make sure to spread that word for you. And yeah, no, we're just really excited to move closer to the grandparents and, I'm in Pasadena right now, and I'm ready to get back into Sierra Madre. So thank you for all the support, and thank you for all that you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Steve Dahl with Dahl Architects. We're the applicant for this subdivision tonight. With me is my son, Adrian Dahl, who's our project manager. So if there's any really tough questions, I'll bring him up here. As an architect working in this fine city, I wanted to thank you. I'd like to thank Caitlin, wonderful staff person working with her. It's really exciting to me to open up your zoning code and see an example of a subdivision of a large lot to divide into 3 parcels, pretty much exactly like we're doing. And then if you look further and you drive on Auburn, I don't think there's a different pronunciation of that street. There's a full-scale model that's the exact dimensions of what's in your zoning code. So I think that subdivision probably happened and then it was put into the zoning code. And that's a good full-scale model to see. And those are nice individual separate homes. Interestingly, though, that was done prior to the threshold cutoff so that those homes are about 1,000 square feet bigger, each of them, than what's allowed today. So the neat thing with us on Lima or Lima with 444, with the 3 homes, the previous property owner, to Steve, of this property was going to do one giant mansion, kind of a palace, 6,000 square feet, fountains, and on a platform that completely ignored the cross slope that's up to about 10 feet from north to south. So instead of a giant out of context palace, by subdividing, we're going to do smaller homes that are more compatible with the neighborhood. In fact, we have a neighbor that'll probably speak just to the north. There's 2 homes there. To the south, also 2 homes. This is probably the last big lot that hasn't been subdivided. I think it's a good thing. And as you brought up earlier, we're proposing a driveway along the south at the low point of the site, working with the topography. And if you looked at the drawings and the renderings, and the renderings are coming for later, but we just wanted to kind of share with you, the driveway doesn't go straight. And on the other one in Auburn, it does. It jogs around that beautiful oak tree. And so this will be more of kind of a homey feeling. We don't want it to feel too commercial. It's for the kids. So we're just thrilled that it's going to be more compatible with the neighborhood. We already have designs all drawn up. We've kind of worked preliminarily with Caitlin and her team to do 2-story Mediterranean modern homes. So as soon as you go 2 stories, as you know, it goes to the full Planning Commission for open public hearings. We're looking forward to that. And we told them when we met them and they recommended approval to you of the subdivision that we'll return. And we look forward to that and going over the the landscaping, the detailing, and fine tuning. So as one of your questions earlier, the footprints are what we've already designed and will be presenting, but they may not necessarily be the final footprints. On the subdivision, you'll see also the setbacks that we exceed, but we of course have to stay within those boundaries. So I'm thrilled it's going to be a good thing, and it's kind of the first step, and we look forward to the next process.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenters? All right, I'd like to open this for public comment.
Madam Mayor, there is one speaker card submitted, and for the record, there was one email that was received at the city clerk's office and forwarded to the city council. The one speaker card is from Joe Catalano.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Joe Catalano. I am a former planning commissioner, licensed architect, and I am the neighbor and property owner directly to the north of this site, the front half of it anyway, the front house. Very simply, I think this is a great project, the way it's done. And I hope that you will approve it. It's balanced. The footprints that we do see, as much as they are right now, are very, very considerate of the surrounding houses. The trees are managed well, and the overall, the site is just very, very nicely balanced. It's a great job. So I hope that you'll approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we open for this discussion, are there any disclosures for site visits by council?
I mean, I walk by almost like once a week just because it's on my daily walk, but I don't have any like official visit other than just being familiar with the site.
Same, I'm just very familiar with the site. All right. And this is kind of common in Sierra Madre. The Garcias, a family, his in-laws live across the street next door all over. The Lowe's we do too. And the Heflins planned this where the Stonehouse project is now. That was intended for their 4 children, and it didn't end up happening, but you're not alone. All right, discussion.
I mean, I'm impressed that you can get 3 houses on one lot. This is an enormous lot, and I know we're looking at tentative footprints for the actual houses, but if they are relatively true to that, I mean, this is textbook in terms of lot coverage and, getting, a roughly 2,000 square foot house on a roughly 10,000 square foot lot is, I hate to say this because I know this town, but I can't imagine anyone would complain about it. That piece at least. And I appreciate that the ultimate designs will still be up for review, and certainly our esteemed colleagues on the Planning Commission will do what we know that they will do in terms of the review of the actual plans and making sure that the kinds of concerns that we got from one of the neighbors to the east, will be considered and addressed to the extent that, around setbacks and view sites and, massing and all of those things. We know that our Planning Commission is well on top of that, and I sincerely hope it will stay with them.
I think all the findings have been met, and I'm really like the story of the family, and I wish you guys the best. I totally support this.
Yeah, when you look at the overhead currently, I don't know if it's a drone photo, but something looks out of place just because it's this one little building on this huge lot with no landscaping. So I think it would, obviously, I think it would improve the area by having something nice there, especially, again, the story that, as Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, at least for now, right, it will be a family living there in that area. So that's obviously really special and cool to hear, as you mentioned. Having family nearby is it's a great support thing, and it's very Sierra Madre. So I'm in full support of this at this point.
I have nothing more to say. I appreciate, we're focused on the lot split today. Looks like it's a great project. It's a great story, a great family. It will benefit the neighborhood. I'm in full support.
Yes, I've driven by that and been by that lot for so long, and it's been abandoned for almost, I think, as long as I've owned my home. It's been abandoned for over 10 years, I believe. And so it's nice to see something else go there. I love keeping family close, and I appreciate your vision. All right, can I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 26-31, approving the tentative parcel map 25-01.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. Thank you.
Mayor, before we move off this item, just one point to make. The city council considered this tentative map because the municipal code requires the city council to consider it, but it's not actually required under state law. So the city council might consider when we get to future agenda items, if there's a desire among the majority to reconsider that and maybe just limit tentative track maps for approval at the planning commission level with appeals going to city council, that's something we could agendize separately during future agenda items.
Okay. All right, moving on to the consent calendar. City Clerk Aguilar, can you please read consent calendar by title only?
Thank you, ma'am. There are 5 items on the consent calendar for the city council's consideration. Consent A is the special meeting minutes from the April 14th closed session. There were no recommendations for edits to the minutes. Consent item B are the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of April 14th, 2026. This is the city council meeting, and there were also no emails received in the city clerk's office for edits to the minutes. Consent item C is resolution number 26-32, approving certain demands. It is staff's recommendation that the city council adopt resolution 26-32. Consent item D is the First Amendment to the professional services agreement with Hong Tam for structural engineering plan check services. It is staff's recommendation that the city council approve the amendment. And lastly, consent item E is the second reading of ordinance number 1491, amending chapters 10.04 definitions, 10.08 traffic regulations, and 10.12 administration and enforcement of Title 10 vehicles and traffic, and amending section 12.24.040 traffic regulations of chapter 12.24 Public Parks and Recreation Centers of Title 12 Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places of the Sierra Madre Municipal Code. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council adopt ordinance number 1491. Madam Mayor, that concludes my report, and staff is available for questions.
All right, do we have questions on consent item A, B, C?
Just a quick question. This was one of the lowest warrants I've seen since I think I've been on council. I'm just wondering, were some payments put off and we're going to see them in the next warrants, or is it just happenstance variance in the way we do business in the city?
I think it's just happenstance, but I will let our finance director, Mr. Wong, explain.
Thank you.
It just happens this way, so.
You didn't cut a whole bunch of costs?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're good.
We're not pushing all payments off overnight.
Okay, it's great. Thank you for that.
Questions for item D? Questions for item E? May I have a motion? Oh, sorry. I'm not with it as much tonight. Public comment on consent calendar.
No speaker cards were submitted, nor did the city clerk's office receive any emails, Madam Mayor.
And discussion items?
No.
Any discussion?
I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Gosh, I feel well rested. Just fleeting moments. All right, let's move on to discussion items. Item A is professional services agreement with the Noble System for GIS/asset management software. Good evening, Director.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed council members. I'll be just doing a brief introduction tonight on this item. It's our GIS asset management software. Staff went out to solicit proposals through the Planet Bids portal. We received proposals, and 4 staff members independently reviewed and evaluated the proposals and scored them on a criteria that was weighted on the different criteria. Each of them had a different weighting and then came up with an average score, weighted score. And Nobel Systems was the highest rated proposer. This project is to have a cloud-based GIS asset management software solution which will allow city staff to track maintenance and repair of city infrastructure and facilities such as water, sewer, streets, trees, buildings, which will be cataloged in the GIS database through work order process. So we can submit work orders for potholes, whatever, leaks and such, and then that'll be tracked. Maintenance history and attributes of specific infrastructure will be logged and tracked. So we can have on the GIS, we can click on a certain main line or this building and see what maintenance has been done over the years. And then that'll be used for future short, medium, and long-range capital improvement planning for all of our different infrastructure. It will allow for residents to report issues, service requests, either through an online reporting portal or via a mobile citizen app, which will be able to track and report on status when service request has been completed. So it'll be a whole throughput. It'll be submitted. Staff will go out and handle the repair or request, and then it'll be logged back in and reported back to who requested it. The system will be configured also for FEMA, Cal OES emergency readiness, as well as fire department, wildfire risk and prevention support. There will be dashboard tracking of various statistics and reporting for staff to do, and then we can come back to with reporting information for council. And like I said, this dashboard stuff will help us for short, medium, and long-range planning of capital infrastructure. One thing that will help us out good here is like what we've talked about in the past of doing streets and pipeline maintenance and this repair jobs or replacement in the same vein. We'll be able to put our PCI index into there and then also all of our history, like I said, the leak history and stuff, whereas opposed to just seeing all the potholes and patches along Grandview Avenue and saying, okay, yeah, it's time to replace this main line now because we've got patches every 35 feet all along there. So we'll be able to track all that and then plan for our capital improvements moving forward. And now I'll turn it over to Balaji Kadaba. He's the Vice President of Operations with Nobel Systems. He's going to come up here. He's got to come sit at the counter here, the dais, and he's going to do a little presentation. It's not a PowerPoint. It's actually a live demonstration of the GeoViewer technology that they use.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
So our office in Redlands, California here, just like maybe 50 miles from here. And we have customers all over the places, especially in Southern California. We have more than 50, 60 customers. Just to name a few, the nearby one is the city of Monrovia, city of El Monte, and there are so many customers in this area we work with as well, Southgate, and then Santa Monica, so many customers. So anyway, so we provide the complete GIS solution to many of our customers. And the reason I don't have a PowerPoint is because the PowerPoint won't give you enough information how our software works. I would like to show the live demonstration. Maybe I'm going to give a brief demo. I'm not going to spend like an hour or so, just I'll take 10, 15 minutes time and then I'll show how it works. So we tried to connect it through that. We had some technical issues, so I just have to sit here. So we have three kinds of applications. One is GeoViewer Online, another one is GeoViewer Mobile, and then another one is Citizen app. The one that you see on the left-hand side is a GeoViewer Online application. as the name says, online. It always works only when you are connected to the internet. As long as you have a browser with a laptop, with username and password, anywhere in the world, you can access your GIS data and then see how many work order is done, how many valve exercise is done, and what is the meter number, what is the parcel information. Everything you can do it through the online. The one that you see the right-hand side is the GeoWare mobile app that works both connected as well as disconnected. Let's assume you are in the field, there is no network, no problem. You can still access all your GIS data and then collect the information, you do the work order, everything. But as soon as you go to an area where there is a network, it will automatically sync. You don't need to push a button or anything. Right? That's the mobile app. All the field guys can use it, office people can use it. And yeah, since we have unlimited licenses, anybody who provide access from the city, they can use it as well. And the one that next to that, there is a My Huntington Park app. That is City of Huntington Park using our app. This is a citizen app. Basically, as Brian explained earlier, let's say the citizen, they can download this app in their Android devices or iPads or iPhones. Let's say while they're driving, they see a pothole, or maybe they see a graffiti or illegal dumping, they can just take a picture of that and then send that information to the city. So that way city staff get in their mobile app, in the Geo mobile app, and then they'll go to the location, do everything, they clean up the area if it is illegal dumping. If it is a graffiti, they remove the graffiti removal, and they take a after picture and send it to the user, whomever sent it, saying that thank you for notifying it, we took care of your request. That we call citizen app. Because it doesn't look like a GeoWare, it says My Huntington Park because citizens don't want to know like what is GeoWare. If it is Huntington Park, city's name, like let's say My Sierra Madre app, it meant for the citizens, right? So let me just zoom into an area in the GeoWare online here. So as soon as I zoom in, you can see that all the water layers, parcel layer, everything is shown up here. Let's assume there is a leak in this big pipe. And then you get a call from the customer saying that, hey, I see an address. And then you search for the address here. We have a search option here. You can just search for like whatever the address that you want. And then let's say Virginia, right? I just select the address. It will zoom to that location. And then the customer said the leak is just exactly in front of my property. So then the customer is done the job and then they can hang up the phone. And then the customer service department, just by sitting in the office, they can see like, okay, this is the pipe. They mentioned that there is a leak. And if they want to know like how this is affected in the system, they can run the analysis. So I just selected the pipe. Okay, let me just go here. Okay, run analysis here. So when you do the run analysis, now the system is going to tell you if you have to fix a leak for that particular pipe, these are all the properties that are affected because of the shutdown. And then these are all the 2 valves that they need to close, because without closing it, they cannot fix it. So, and then let's assume the guys in the field, they go to the location, and when they try to close the valve, it's inoperable. They cannot close it. So in that scenario, they can just pick a wall that's inoperable and mark it as mark inoperable. Now the system is going to tell you, if you cannot close this, these are all the 3 additional valves you need to close, and then this is a revised list of properties that are affected. So let's assume this is like just for a 2 hours job, they can just go and knock the door and saying that the water is not available. Let's assume you're going to replace a pipe. And maybe you're going to set up a date and time for the resident saying that so and so time the work is going to be happen over there. So you have to send a notification to the customer. We have an option where you can generate the report. Here I go to the report. There's a mailing option. And whether you want mailing address, situs address, you can pick the one that you want it. If you want to send it to both the owners and the resident, you can pick combination address, or you can just pick the mailing address, whichever you prefer. And there are so many every templates available here. You can just pick that, and then the report type, Word, PDF, whichever you prefer. And when you say generate, now the system is going to give me the list of all the properties that are affected because of the shutdown. It is just opening now. Yeah, you can see that this is the properties that are affected because of the shutdown. Now all you have to do is like just print the notification and send it to them saying that the water is not available so and so time because we are replacing the pipe, right? Okay, this is one of the functionality we have it. And let me go back here. Looks like I just closed it, sorry. Okay, so let me just zoom into an area. So now we also have a tool called Show Documents here in the bottom. So all these documents are available. Now the guys are going to the, if they want to see any information about the pipe or a property or anything, they have to come back to the office, go to the storage room, look for the documents, and spend time on figuring out which as-builts they want, all those things. Now they don't need to do anything anymore. So now, see, I just zoom into an area. Based on the location of the map area in the bottom, it's keep decreasing. So that means there is a number displayed here, and then there is a number here. Based on whichever you want it, you can just click on it, and then this particular PDF file will be available for you to view. So we scan all this document and then store it here, and link it to the corresponding assets in the GIS. All these documents are also available in the mobile device. So that way, the guys, if they want to see that see the documents in the field, they can see that as well. Okay, so now we also have a tool called GIS BI. BI stands for Business Intelligence. So sometimes the public works want to replace all the steel pipe into ACP or whatever, and they wanted to know how many miles of pipes they have it in the system, out of which how many miles of steel pipe I have, so that way I can keep it for the next year CIP project. So we have a tool called GIS Business Intelligence. You can just go to the pipes, and then now you can say, show me, go to the, okay, sorry, now I'm in County Strom. Let me go to the water, and then I'll click on the pipes. And I'll see, as soon as I selected the pipes, water pipe, this customer has 171 miles of pipes. Is there. I just selected the 171 miles. Now it's showing based on the age. If I want to see based on the pipe material, I can just click on that. You can see that based on the color it's showing here. Let's assume this is a steel pipe and then this is 15.54 miles. And if you want to know where they are, just click on them. And now you can see they are highlighting on the map, saying that these are all the location you have steel, and then you have 15.4 miles of pipes, and those are all pipes that you need to replace. And you know the cost for how much it will cost to replace 1 mile of steel times 15.54, and that's how much it is. And everything will be handy, right? You can get all this information within this application. So now real quick, I'll just go to my mobile app here in the right-hand side. So I'll just go to this mobile app. So this works both iOS as well as Android devices. I mean, we prefer Apple because it's faster and then easy to use. So, but if city is willing to use Android, it's okay with that too. So you can use it too. So now I have my dashboard here. It's showing all the information, how much task I have and everything. I can go to the map view here, and then I can just use my 2 fingers to zoom into any area that I want it. If I want to see the information, I can just tap on this, the aerial photography, and then now you can see the aerials as well as. And as I said, this works even in the offline mode too. So the idea of using this device in the field is like to save the time for the field guys, right? So if they don't have, let's assume they don't have anything, they have a piece of paper, they go to a location. In order to find out where they are in the field, they have to spend a lot of time. But let's assume they're using this application, they don't need to search for an address, search for the street intersection to see where they are. All they do is there is a GPS functionality available here. You can just tap on that. It will go to the location. Since this is for Southgate, I don't have any GIS data for city of Sierra Madre. Right now, it is not showing, it is just zooming into this location. Imagine once I have the GIS data loaded here, it's showing all the water pipes, sewer pipes, fire, trees, everything will show up here, and then they can start using it. Okay, and I'll go back to my location. And as I said earlier, even the documents is right there. This is available even in the offline mode, and then you can open it whenever you want it. So yeah. Okay, and then even that the one that I showed you earlier, the run analysis, the guys in the field, they can do this as well if they wanted to see which valves are, which valves that they need to close because of the shutdown. Okay, there are so many inspections module that's available as part of this, like let's say valve exercise, hydrant flushing, sewer line cleaning, manual inspection, tree inspection. There are so many inspections available. I just show you 1 or 2 how it works. In the top, if I just say search, There are so many things came up, as I mentioned, so many inspections. Now I'm going to select valves. So as soon as I select valves, you can see that the valves are highlighted in a different color. Some of them are in green, some of them in red. So the green means it exercised recently. Let's say your workflow is that you have to exercise all the valves once in every 2 years. We set up the system in such a way that if you do an exercise of the valve today, it will be in the green color for the next 2 years. After 2 years, the color is going to change from green to yellow, saying that you did a valve exercise 2 years before, but it's time to do it again. Red means it's never exercised. So that way you will know like how many valves were exercised, how many of them are pending, how many of them are never done at all. So I'll just go to one of the location. I will just tap on the valve here and I'll go hit I button here. And then I can say inspect. And there are so many fields there here. And then we can customize this field based on the customer's requirement. So valve conditional, operable or inoperable, nut depth, they can enter, say this is like 23 nut depth feet or inches. Do you want to flag this valve because it's inoperable? No, everything is good. This is the one thing that we are going to integrate with if you are using the Vox valve exercise or Pacific Tech, any machines that you are using it for the valve exercise, we install a small Bluetooth chip into that machine. So when they do the valve exercise, the turns, torque, everything will automatically enters here. They don't need to enter those values manually. Through the Bluetooth, all the information will be transferred to this, right? And end of the day, once the inspection is done, if they want to add their comments, they can add it comments. And then they're wearing the gloves in the field, and then it's hard to type everything. So we implemented Siri, so that way they can just talk, and then it will automatically convert your voice into the text. This valve has been exercised, and everything is good. So you can just talk. I'm glad it really worked. Because of my accent, sometimes it won't work properly. So, and then before I hit save, there is an option where you can take a picture or video file just to say that I went to the location and then this is what I did, right? So I can just take a picture. I'll just take a picture here and then use photo. And then if you want to mark anything on the picture, you can say, okay, this is the valve. And then this is where I exercised it, this is where the problem is, whatever. And then they can even use the freehand sketch and they can type it and then they can draw anything they want. And then hit save button. If they prefer, they can add video as well. There is a video option, or if there are any documents they want to scan it and attach it, they can attach it to that particular valve, right? And then I will hit save button. If I hit one more save, this valve has been exercised and everything will be completed. I'm going to hit save right now. And if you notice, this is done. And if I go back, and the color of the valve has been changed to green, for the next 2 years, this valve color will remain as is, and it says green here. Okay? So now what I wanted to do, I just wanted to show you one thing, how the system works. So this property address is 8955 Alexander. So I'll just go to this location, 8955 Alexander. So if you notice here, I'm in the same location, and this is the valve that I exercised. I'll just select this valve, and then I go to this. And then if I go and show document here, if you remember, this is the picture, I just took it. The guys in the field, they're using the mobile app to take a picture, do the inspection. Just by sitting in the managers or supervisor in the office, they can see how many valves were exercised by staff and what are the information they took, what is the picture they took. And you can also see that there is a date information, date stamp in the information, plus who took the picture. Everything is stored as part of this. So, and then, I mean, that is attached to the valve itself. Whatever the asset you inspect, all the information is attached to that. Okay, and also we integrated core logic property characteristics with GeoViewer, our application. So let's assume if I select a property here, and then if I go to the report, and there are 3 reports here, property details report, transaction history report, assessor map report. And then if you want to see more information about the property, like how many bathrooms, bedrooms, everything, you can just click on this. And then now it will go and then get the report from the core logic server and then give it to you. So, and then what is the value of the property, and then number of bathrooms, bedrooms, sale value, everything will be here. And similarly, there is a transaction history report too. like when the property is constructed, how many owners are changed from the day it's constructed. All the information about the transaction history right there. And not but the least, the assessor pay map report. Usually everybody goes to the LA County website to get this, and not anymore. You just select a property and then click on the report, and then you can see that there is assessor map report right there, just by selecting a property. Okay. So now I showed you how to do the valve exercise in the mobile app. So there is another, and I also showed you GIS Business Intelligence. There is another tool called Maintenance BI. It's called Maintenance Business Intelligence. So let's say I wanted to know how many valves were exercised in the last 1 year, how many work orders is completed, how many hydrant inspection done, things like that. So I can just go to the custom here, and I'll say, okay, show me how many inspection is done from August 1, 2025 till today. And then if you see here, there are 45 valves were exercised in that period, that whatever I selected. And if you want to see the report for this, you can just go here, say summary report. And now it will give you the report. So once in a year, city has to submit this report to the state. So going further, all they do is like just put the date range, take this report and upload to the DWR website. So it gives all the information that they collected in the field. Okay. So before I come back to that, the work order, I'll just show you the My Huntington Park app. This is a citizen app. So this one, I mean, once we got all the information from the city, when we developed this one for City of Sierra Madre, we'll put the City of Sierra Madre logo here. And now I will say, this one, anybody can go to that the App Store or Google Play Store, and then they can download this app, and they don't need to have any username or password, because this is meant for citizens. So I will just say open app, and if I go to the map, and then let's assume I am somewhere here, right? And then now I will say add reports, and then if I say new report, it will say out of boundary right now, because this is meant for City of Huntington Park. And then if you go out of City of Huntington Park, you cannot create a work request. Like similarly, when we do it for City of Sierra Madre, if you go to Arcadia or Monrovia, nobody can send you that illegal dumping information from the Arcadia or Monrovia, right? So I'll just go to that, the Huntington Park location. So this is the location. I can just zoom into an area. Let's say I see illegal dumping in this location. I can just place a point, and I will say new report. Okay, zoom more. New report. And then there are some fields highlighted in red asterisk. That means it's a mandatory field. They have to do it, fill in. Choose an issue. I will say illegal dumping. Okay. And if I go to the department, it automatically says this is part of the public works. So go to the public works, type comments. Test service request by Nobel Systems. Because this is the live application, I don't want them to go work on this service order. So I just said test by Nobel Systems. So now the citizen, there are two options. They can submit this report anonymously without entering their details, or they can add their name. If I say submit anonymously, now that is gone, right? So now I can even take a picture of that the illegal dumping, and I will say use photo, and then I will hit save, and if I hit one more save, and now this report has been submitted. It will come to the city GeoWare mobile app for the guys to go and then fix that issue. So now I'll just go to the completed ones, and then if you go to the completed one, and you can see that there are so many service requests, illegal dumping. These are all the live one, real one actually. Graffiti removal, tree maintenance, code enforcement. So anything that you see, everything will be here. And these are all the completed requests, right? And if I just open this, I'll show you the difference. So this is the completed after picture. But if I go to the next one, and then these are all the completed ones, and you can see that this is how before. See, there is a illegal dumping here, and illegal dumping here, illegal dumping here. And once the work is done, they will take another picture. After removing the dumping, they will take a picture and send it to the citizens saying that, thank you for notifying, we took care of your issues. Okay, so do I still have time? I just want to show the work order. Oh, okay. Okay, so what I did, I'm still working with the staff because the project hasn't been started yet. And getting the city boundary and then the parcel boundary from LA County is easy. I already created the service. There's no layers. If you see it here, it's only just the parcels and the central lines. That's it. We don't have anything else. So now once I started this project, once I get all the water layers, sewer layers, trees, everything, I just have to add the layer and then start adding all the inspections, work order, everything, and then provide the access to the city staff to use it. So I just wanted to show you that we already did some work on this project, so on my own. So yeah, and then this is the city of Monrovia. I just wanted to show that they're using this system. If you notice, they have all these water layers, sewer layers, everything is available, and they're using the wastewater work order, and then the dig mark. They're also using for the dig alert, call before you dig, and then so far they were doing it in the emails, and then by printing the emails and go to the location. With this, everything they can do it through the app. Okay, so I'll just go to that the Southgate back here, and I'll go to this. I'll go to the, okay, what I do earlier, I was talked about the leak in the pipe, and let's say there is somebody hit this fire hydrant, right? Now the work order has to be created and capture all the information such as labor, equipment, material, everything for that particular asset. So what I do, I just select this fire hydrant because this is the fire hydrant got hit by a truck. Now, before fixing it, you have to create a work order. So there is a plus button here. I'll say work order, and then the address, it automatically took it from the parcel. I don't need to enter that. Method of discovery, call. Somebody called and mentioned that there is somebody hit the fire hydrant. And then customer name, if you want to fill in who called and all those things, you can put it. Otherwise, you can ignore that. And by default, yes, fire hydrant is part of the water department. Description, I will say fire hydrant hit. And then description notes. Citizen called about fire hydrant hit. You can add whatever the description that you want. And then the supervisor, you can pick the supervisor who belongs for this project and assign to. I can assign to the same person. I will assign it here. And then that's it. And all this information, you don't need to do it. Now the work order has been, if I say hit save, now this particular work order has been created, right? And then you see that there is a green color came on the right-hand side. Immediately it sent that information to the field guys saying that, hey, there is a work order, you need to work on it. So I'll show you how this system works. I'll just go here and I will say work order. And if I say new, and see here, there is a 428 fire hydrant hit, and then it's under the tab new, because nobody worked on it yet, right? So what I will do, I'll go to the mobile app here, and if I go here, I'll say work order, all open customer complaints, not this. All water work orders, I'll just tap on that thing, and you can see that the first one is what I just created, right? And then if I want to go to that location, I can just select that. I'll say route, route. Now it's going to give me the driving directions from here, wherever I am, to that location, so that way I can go to the location and then work on it, right? So now I don't need to use this option. I'll close it, and I'll just tap on that, and then it is giving the basic information about that work order, whatever the information they sent it to them, and I will say update button. So now they have to go to that location, fix that fire hydrant hit, and after everything is done, they need to capture all the information saying that, this is the project number. If there is any project number for this, they can just put it there. Department water, it's okay. And then if there is any water loss, you say yes or no. Say yes, and then meter is nothing to do with the meter for this project. And you can come down here, and then I'll show you the one that we need to do that. So yeah, they can fill in all the information, type of an asset, it's a mainline leak. So once everything is done, now the time is to enter the labor, equipment, material. For this project, I used, this is for the water, I used this guy and I used this guy, done. And both of them regular, they worked on the regular hours and they spent 2 hours for that. And I will hit save button and you can see that their dollar amount based on the hourly rate is automatically showing you this is how much it costed. And you can also do the equipment. So, and then say like equipment, I use one of the trailer for that. I use one of the Crown Victoria, whatever it is. So, and you can also say if search for it, whatever the equipment they're looking for. Once you enter everything and you use 2 hours for that and hit save, and then that equipment cost also added. So similarly, you can add the material also and everything, and you can even take a picture of it. Take photo and use photo. Save. I don't need to mark anything, and then I will hit save. And if I hit one more save, before that I need to change the status. Right now, okay, let me say water loss no. So the status, I'm going to change the status from new to completed because the work is done. And if I hit save, completed, done, and you watch here, now it's under the new tab. As soon as I hit save button in the mobile app, this is going to move from the new tab and then going to the completed tab. So I'm going to hit save. See, now this is gone here. And if I go to the completed tab, the fire hydrant is already synced that fast. So as soon as the work is done from the field, everything will be synced to the GeoWare online. Just by sitting in the office, they can see like what is the cost of the work order, how much work they did, everything. So I can just click on that. And then if you want to see the picture that they collect, you can just click on that. There is a picture right there. And if you want to get the individual report for this particular work order, you can just generate the report. And whatever the picture I took is also as part of the report right there.
Thank you. That was very comprehensive, pretty exciting. Do we have questions from council? I'm sure we have a lot.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So there was a system Core Logic.
Yeah.
What is Core Logic and how does it relate to the system?
Core Logic does that for living, like collecting all the property details report, transaction history report, and everything. Usually cities will have a separate contract with Core Logic to get those information. What we are doing is we work with Core Logic and we have an enterprise license with them. We pay for it. And with this, we are giving it to all our customer at no additional cost on the Core Logic. So that way, cities can save money. If you are using Core Logic already, you can cancel the contract. You can use this system for all the property details report and everything.
Got it.
Are we using Core Logic currently?
In Public Works, no. Building and planning, I'm not sure. They're no longer here. But it would be something more on the planning and building side of things where they would use that property information.
So how do we currently use our property information? Do we have just logs and logs of files?
Like I said, I'm not sure what building and planning utilizes.
I mean for Public Works.
Public Works, no, we don't need property information. Ours is more
I guess I
all
meant-
our facility information.
I guess I meant, so it only does the property information, it doesn't do the pipes and the water
No,
mains? Okay,
not the Core
okay.
Logic.
Okay,
No.
thank you, thank you.
It's just additional functionality in the system.
Got it, thank you.
So that is a perfect segue to my next question. So we have to put in all the information of the pipes and the valves and all of that. 2 questions. 1, do we have that information? And 2, how long will it take us to enter it? And then I guess the third question is how long from the time we say go can we get the system up and running?
First question is, yes, we have that data. It's our XY maps that we have right now. We're working on getting that information from that vendor. It's been a slow and tedious process. Our IT people have been working with them. Because Balaji, what he was going to try to do was develop one with ours besides just the boundaries of Sierra Madre. He was going to try to get one up with a layer of water in it, but wasn't able to get it in a quick enough time. So once this goes into play and we got a contract, we're still working with XY Maps people to get those shape files, and once we have those will be transferred over to Nobel Systems, and they'll upload them, and it'll get going pretty fast. We put a timeline in the RFP of 9 months. If I'm not correct, Balaji, you think 2 to 3 months?
We can complete the project in 2 to 3 months, yes.
Is that like fully on board, ready to go, citizen portal, the whole shooting match in 3 to 4 months?
Yes.
The longer duration aspect will be us getting our
Getting the
guys up to speed on how to use it and the training aspect of it, and them getting comfortable inputting the data in the field.
So can I follow up to that? Wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So about inputting data, you're talking about the system that you're trying to integrate into that. We're talking about all kinds of different things that is going to go into this system, right? So do we have data on how far back on all our systems? And if we don't, how will this, so we'll have to be starting at a year one kind of situation and moving forward without the benefit of hindsight or an evaluation?
Well, we can go through in paper records and input all our old stuff in
That's
paper
what I was
records.
getting at.
The files we're getting from XY map is basically the base layer maps of our pipes and everything. It doesn't have leak histories
Yeah,
or
okay, that's
pothole
what I was
histories
getting
and
at.
stuff. That's all paper right now.
So that would be longer than 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, that would, if we input that data, that would be longer than 3 or 4
And
months.
why wouldn't you need that to get the system started?
We don't need that information to get the system started. What we need are the shape files that are actually the facilities themselves. The data is not what we need. This is going to help us track that data moving forward. We could input that data.
From this point on.
Yeah, from this point on, and we can put that older data in there that'll help us, as our planning moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, on that point, I mean, I guess what you were saying before in your introduction about being able to overlay, leak history, pipe history with, our street conditions and all of that, I assume that that's going to require, to Mayor Pro Tem's point, some data about what the current condition is, because it'd be great if we were a brand-new city and we were starting from scratch with the system, but we certainly aren't. So I guess what is the plan for inputting that? Because I feel like, I mean, obviously there's going to be uses for it on a base level, but in terms of full functionality of our actual condition, what is sort of the timeline and the plan for that?
Just staff time availability to input that extraneous data that we have.
And I guess for the vendor, right, when you have implemented these systems new for other cities, how do they migrate historical data into the system?
They already have the data in the shape files or in the maps, which shows the street conditions and everything. And if they have the shapefiles format, it's easy. We'll just take that layer and then load it into our system within 24 hours. And if they have the information in the map, like a hard copy PDF file, then we'll just have to convert that into digital. That will take more than a day to do that. So some customer, they provided only the map, so that way we can transfer into the GIS format. Some customer, they provided already the layer exists, and it's easy to transfer it to the system.
So if we have a paper record of a specific asset that has multiple maintenance history on it, you can categorize and catalog that information in the system by the physical address of the asset.
Yes. Yeah. And
if we have that information by address.
If you have the information stored in Excel spreadsheet with reference to the address, that also can be transferred easily, all the historic information. But if you have it in the piece of paper, then someone has to manually enter all the information and then attach to the GIS.
On that same note, Director, how is it currently being reported and tracked?
Most of it's, we get emails like for leaks or potholes and stuff. So we get an email through service request, and then we just go out and do it, and then they're paper tracking it.
Same with the phone calls to 355 number? Okay.
So discussing the assets and tracking the assets and ultimately maybe putting together a capital improvement plan. Those shape files that you mentioned from XY Maps, do those have date of installation, type of asset, location, and material?
I think they do. I haven't delved into XY Maps myself a lot lately. much, but typically your GIS will have all that information, like Balaji was showing you.
Yeah.
One of the things up there you can have by what age range they are, how many miles of, what type of material you have on your pipes. Then when you can see, because each type of pipe has its own life cycle as well. So we can do it based on life cycle or leak history.
Okay, and, talking about the transition from XY maps, this is a 3-year agreement. I'm not assuming we're not going to be happy with the product or the service, but let's say we're at a point where we want to terminate the agreement and go forward with somebody else, if that was going to happen. Would we have access to our data to then migrate it to another system, or is that going to be proprietarily yours, or is that our data?
All the GIS information like the pipes, valves, hydrants, or everything, city owns the data. The only thing that we owns is the software. When you want to cancel the contract with us, even the pictures, videos that you guys took it through our app, city owns it.
Okay.
But only thing is we just give you the GIS data to you, and then you can start using another application from the next day itself. And some customer, what they do, even though they have 3 years or 5 years contract, they just want the complete backup once in every 3 months or 5 months. If they ask, we are giving it to them whenever they ask. So that way you don't need to wait until end of the contract to get all your data. So we can give you the periodic backup data to you.
In our contract says exactly that as well.
Great. So there was something about creating reports, and I did see the work order, and
Yeah.
let's say an employee creates a report. Are employees creating reports or usually citizens?
No, citizens only they can request for a work order. They see a pothole, they see a dumping or some park maintenance issue, they will just notify you. That's it. After that, they are done. After that, the city staff, field guys will go to the location, do the work, put in all the information like labor, equipment, material, everything, and then only city has control on all those things. Citizens do not have access to any of these applications.
Understood. And do our city employees for Public Works currently have like a city cell phone or something they go, like an iPad that they go around with to then implement this service?
Some do, but some don't. It's probably an additional expense that we'll need to provide.
Okay. And those would be, we wouldn't give them personal devices. These are we contemplating city-owned and checked out devices?
We offer stipends for personal use of cell phones. So if they wanted to download the application onto their personal device, we could offer them a stipend instead of acquiring the device for them.
And legally, that would be okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. And so you mentioned, and I know it's like page 22 of the report, something about the fire department and hazard. I just want to understand, this is for like inventory of, let's say the fire department's doing checks on vegetation and wildfire risk management. It's not actually fire modeling, it's just the risk management part? Or does this also have fire modeling?
No modeling. This doesn't have fire modeling. This says it should be the risk management, so the vegetation management. So like when they go out and do inspections or whatever for people to do their vegetation clearing.
And that's all under the same price, like the city has access through all departments?
Yeah,
Okay.
even though I was mentioning more about water and wastewater, this is for the citywide. All the department, they can use it based on their requirements.
Thank you.
We actually, in the RFP, we basically had a shopping list of everything that we wanted in there because I met with all the departments and said, hey, give me your requirements. We plugged that all in there, and that was what they were proposing on.
So this gets implemented. It goes out to the public, and we have, we have a very engaged residents here. How are you preparing to deal with the volume that may come in when people start understanding the system and start using it?
That's how we do it now. We respond and we'll do them accordingly based on criticality of the issue also.
So how does this then rank the criticality?
How does what rank criticality?
How does the system?
We'll have to determine it ourselves when we
Okay.
get them in. When we get them in, a mainline leak's going to take precedent over a little bit of asphalt removed from the street.
So there's no logic in there that elevates
Prioritizes.
things based on criticality.
I'd have to, but I doubt it. You'd have to look at the pictures that are attached to it.
It is, I'll show you here, if I go to that, but again, that information, city has to let us know what is first priority, second priority, things like that. See, when I open the work order, you can see the work order in a different color here, right? The orange means is like a regular normal ticket, and then the blue means is like a medium next level ticket, green means, okay. So, and then red means it's something you have to do it like within 24 hours. We'll get this information from the city staff. Based on the type of the work order, we will highlight it over there.
And if I can add to that, I think one of the things we discussed when we did the demo, right, is sometimes we get call after hours when we have our on-duty folks, they respond to water leaks.
Yes.
If somebody submits something through this system, that could notify the duty man of the leak, and they don't have to call. There's no, leaving a message or whatever. They automatically would get notified if they had the app and could see it and say report, and they know what the issue is.
There is a automated notification each time when they get the work order in their name. They will get a ping, the sound in their iPhone. That means there is some work has been assigned to them, so they have to go and work on it.
So in a sense, it does prioritize.
Yes.
I think that's what you're asking for. And it's based on what and universally what's a priority in terms of like large leaks versus not. Then do we normally, that must be done by a person in Public Works right now. Do we have the capacity to have that same person, whoever's the prioritizer now, is that the same person who takes in complaints, prioritizes them? Is this going to be within the capacity of our current staff?
I would have to see, we'll have to see, because our workload is, we're responding to all the calls we get right now, so.
And I don't mean the responders, I mean the person, let's say, I don't know if it's the administrative assistant, I don't know who sits there and takes in them and then decides.
Oh,
what's what.
who's assigning them to the service orders? Yeah, it'd probably be the admin assistant
Okay.
assigning them.
And then whoever, they're kind of prioritized, but I assume it'd be some staff member that prioritizes
Yeah,
them.
right now, our ops manager, he gets them and then puts them out, and they go handle them.
Okay,
We have different customers has a different requirement. One of the customer, like everything has to be controlled by the supervisor. No matter whether it's a red ticket or a green, everything, he will get it. He will assign to the individual staff. And some customers, they will have a group of people. Each time there is a work order, all the group will get the ticket, and internally they discuss and then figure out who is going to work on it. So our system is completely customizable, and we can do it based on the city's requirement.
Is there a way, and I know there was an opportunity for, let's say, a resident to flag like a water leak or something like that. Is there a way for us to then, even if they're anonymous, can we ping them back that it's received or
auto reply.
any type of reply to them?
Then we can remove that option anonymously. We can make a mandatory field saying that without your information, they cannot create a service request.
Okay, I'm just trying to foresee the
I
things
mean,
that we might want to do.
the reason the Huntington Park added that when they make it mandatory, nobody was sending the service request. Very few of them, they're getting it. When they make it anonymously, so everybody is like, okay, let me send it.
That was my question. You said that they get a reply based on the fixed picture, but it only goes to those that are not anonymous, correct?
Anonymous is the person who sends that.
Yes, but you said an automatic reply goes to show that that's fixed.
The report back will never go to the individual person. It will go to the complete public portal.
Got it. Okay.
So
Okay.
if
I
he has to,
misunderstood.
if he has to see his issue whether it's done or not, he has to go to open the app and then see which request he made it and see whether it's completed or not. So, because people keep changing the mobile phones and they don't know how to use the app, if you make it like one-on-one, that's going to be a big task for the city people to manage just that part. So they only request the service request, and then when they're completed, they just have to go and see. If they are 100 completed, they have to search for the one that they sent it.
So this is more for our IT. Is this going to be a separate app that says City of Sierra Madre reporting, or is it going to be integrated into our website with the reporting of what's been done and what complaints are out there, et cetera?
We would probably integrate this application into the website.
Okay.
But for phones, it would be a separate app.
Correct.
Yeah. So basically, you will get both. The only thing I showed right now is the phone app, because some citizens, they don't know how to use the mobile phones. What usually they do, they come back to the home, open the laptop, go to the CTF Sierra Madre website and look for create a ticket or submit my request. Even that one, we will provide the web-based citizen request module as well.
We're currently using the native application to the new website for these types of requests. This would replace that.
And so on the website, where do those work orders go on the website?
To predefined email addresses based off of the topic that they select.
So this would give a much deeper level of information. It'll be able to geotag. It'll be able to add pictures. It's going to be a much deeper, richer experience with more detail.
All the things.
Perfect.
And it does the app, let's say there is the completion of a work order or just a report, does the app capture the employee that created that? Or because I did see that you can say who worked on it, but let's say the person that generated it will be able to capture somehow who created the report or the work order?
Who created the report will not be there, but if you prefer that way, we can put it in the report saying that report created by so-and-so person. That's the easy part, because without logging into the system, they cannot generate the report. So we who logged in, we can put that information.
Okay.
But so far, for some reason, nobody asked for it. It's a good question. But yeah, we can provide who created the report and then who worked on the work order, both.
I think that'd be important data. Thank you.
In terms of training, just as in your experience, I know, we don't have a large workforce, but in terms of, once it's up and running, like what time frame do you expect with respect to training for them to actually implement it in the field?
Training, we will provide multiple trainings. Like we will come to the city hall and then provide the training to the different department, and it can be multiple trainings. And if field guys really need a training on the field, we go with them. After the training provided in the office, we go with them. We'll just watch and see how they are doing it. If they have any problem on how to use the system, so that way we can help them right there. And then throughout the year, we provide unlimited training, and we never charge additional amount for the unlimited training, because we believe the more training we provide, the more app will be used by the city staff. The more they use, the more request comes. That's when I will make money. But so even if not, it's okay. We want the city staff to use our app.
So strong customer service from your end in terms of ongoing use, even after the formal training, to the extent that there are questions or problems, there's strong
We are just
support.
local, and then one of us will be here within 1 hour if they really need a quick training. Or nowadays, everybody use Teams. If there's a simple issue, we'll just go log on to the FaceTime or Teams, and then we'll fix it.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All right, can I open this up to public comment? Is there anyone that has comments on this agenda item?
Madam Mayor, no speaker cards were submitted.
All right, and for discussion? I can start one thing. So this weekend, when I was also at the Summit Leadership, there was a comparison of different products, very similar, that did all kinds of things like planning, reporting problems, and I was watching all of this go on, and I was thinking, well, this is coming up soon, and we were discussing at a table with one of the desert cities, Indian Wells, that what they use, and this is more than what they reported, and I had looked at these other websites. So I have to say that when I investigated in your report, it shows more in depth than they had, and I really appreciate that, because I was kind of looking and waiting for this to come up. So thank you.
So I do have a little bit of it's great. And the fear is it's a good problem to have, I think, but to Councilmember Parker's question, I think because it's so easy to use, there might be a huge increase in demand or usage of the product. A lot of things being reported by citizens, first off, and we don't have a huge staff. And my fear is not responding. We're going to have a lot of criticism. We're used to criticism, but there's probably going to be criticism this hasn't been taken care of, this hasn't, but we just don't have the staff to take care of everything so quickly. So that's like my only fear, that we have some type of plan around seeing how critical an event is and really kind of triaging what we need to do.
Do we really feel like we have a scarcity of folks in town that report problems? I mean, and I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, I am a little bit, but but there's a truth to what I'm saying. Is like, I don't feel like we have a lack of folks who are ready and willing to report lots of problems throughout the city. I just don't know that there are going to be more problems to report than are already being reported, because I feel like our citizenry is pretty on top of, I mean, maybe some of the more minor things, because now I can take a picture of whatever I want, but I think in general, I feel like we get a lot of reporting.
To that really quickly, I do think I agree, and I think this organizes it better. So instead of
yeah,
getting it
I'm
from
not-
phone call to whatever phone number they want to phone call, or report it to us, who then we have to report it, which is pretty common nowadays, or like this gives us one place to report everything.
Yeah,
Instead of from here to here.
No,
to
I
here.
totally agree. It's amazing, and I just had, well, I've complained about these things, but now I'm going to complain about 15 other things that are just minor, maybe a little not as urgent in someone's mind, but it's a good problem to have, because we're going to have data on where issues are throughout the city.
I feel like we could put some messaging on the app, right, to say that, like, certain things, we will respond to your request in the nature, given the nature of the problem, right? I mean, I think people should be aware that, graffiti on a sidewalk is going to be treated differently than a geyser from a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Or the paving of a street.
Yeah, and this is quite a bit of money to put forth, but I do believe in the long run that this will save us money as far as our CIP, our capital improvement plans, and really having more efficiencies within our public works department, fire department, everything. I feel as though it's a lot of money to spend, but I think in the long run it will pay dividends and it will create efficiencies. I mean, that's really my thought.
I'm a little concerned. I'm super geeked out over the demonstration, especially at the beginning when you can zoom in and find out all this information. I just thought of like all the different times I'd want to sort by pipe size, and I mean, I don't even know why I like that, but I was like super excited. But just given the exchange we had in discussion, I'm a little nervous that the data that we have is not in a particularly transferable form. And given the staff demands we already have, I worry a little bit, and I don't know if anybody can address this concern, but I worry a little bit that we're going to spend all this money, as you said, it's expensive, have this beautiful, I'll just make an analogy, this beautiful coffee table that needs to be filled with books, but we have nobody that has time to put the books on the coffee table, and then we just have this beautiful, expensive coffee table that's not serving its purpose. And so I do have a little concern about, now maybe I can be told that like the GIS formatted, the right format files that we have, that the basic information, that in itself will be useful enough, and then we can gradually add on the, wonderful capabilities we have here. But it's a lot of money to spend for basic functionality, which I suspect we have under our XY map program. So I just would be appreciative of some sense of the ability for us to actually use all of the bells and whistles here, because I have a feeling it's not even Excel, it's like in somebody's notebook and the, glove compartment of the truck. Not to be pejorative, but I mean, I just worry a little bit about that.
I do know that when I call, and for instance, there was a leak in front of my parents' neighbor's house about 6 months ago. They told us when that pipe went in, exactly what materials were at which parts and which materials linked up to the main. And it wasn't from them seeing it, they must have it in their records, because they said, this is why this is failing here. It's this material, and this block was built this time, and this is why this one and this one have been replaced, but this one have not.
No, I have
About the handshake of the data.
I mean, I have no doubt that we have extremely encyclopedic knowledge of our system, and I know that because we have amazing staff. But in what format is it in, and is it something that we can dump into this, or is it somebody's notes or somebody's map, hand-drawn map? I mean, I think of the notebook that Chris Cimino put together before he left, of all the sort of historical knowledge, and we can't just like shove that notebook into the system. And so I just wonder.
Maybe
like,
staff can talk to that,
yeah.
because we did actually have amazing mapping and plans prior to the last 5 years. Remember, we had those plans which were prioritized and showed us the exact dates of everything, and it was on the big wall maps.
That's the problem. The wall map does not jam into,
No, he said he can scan the PDFs and input it.
we can scan PDFs as documents, not
And then you said you
directly.
can upload.
Not for data, though, right?
Upload the PDF file, but whatever the information in the PDF file, that has to be manually
Okay.
input.
Yeah, and I hear your concern. It's a valid concern. You know, if we don't have good data, it's like, how do we populate the system and use all the functionality to its, you know, full capacity? That being said, if we don't start, we will never get there. And it might be a more laborious process for us because we don't have good records, we don't have good data. We're gonna have to create some or recreate some, or even go out and buy it and pay for it, survey it, put it into the system. But absent the system as the system of record of our physical assets and infrastructure and, you know, all of that, like, we'll still be stuck in the same paradigm that we're currently in, which doesn't allow us to do the type of modeling and forecasting and improvements that I think we're looking to do.
Fair.
That's what I was going to say. We don't really have basic functionality the way you really need it. I feel like this, when we get it fully tuned, will give you some capabilities that really we should have had a long time ago. But for one reason or another, probably budgetary, we just couldn't.
And it might be relatively quick. Maybe we have good data and we can just sort of hit the ground running, or there might be certain segments of this where it might take us a year or two or more to get all the information we need. But geez, once we have it and you run a heat map and run the reports and see where the issues are, that'll help us allocate resources, prioritize, and just really start chipping away at those core issues. Right now, it's guesswork.
And the cost is spread over water, sewer, and general fund, and water and sewer are well-funded relative to our general fund. So, you know, only a portion of it will be coming out of where we're struggling. The other part will be out of those two departments that actually are doing well.
For reference, I just keep coming back every time we talk about prioritizing water mains. We're kind of walking down a blind alley. Well, we think this one's worse because it had more patches over the last few years. So let's go for that one, but then it may not be serving as many people as another line with it. There are all kinds of variables that we can't control for now, that it seems like this would be able to control for.
Yeah.
So it would help us plan better, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it goes to what we talked about before about sort of being more reactive. You know, we hear citizen complaints about a particular intersection or a particular stretch of street, and so we prioritize it because someone's brought it to our attention, and it would be nice to be able to do that prospectively and also be able to tell people that, no, your street actually isn't the worst, or this isn't the highest priority because we have this instead, and have data to actually demonstrate that.
Show them.
Yeah.
Show them.
For the breakdown, how was it 40% general fund? Why couldn't we share it 50-50 between sewer and water if those are the main problems we're reporting?
Because we're planning on using the application for other
work.
general governmental uses outside of the water and sewer fund, right?
we
So
think that's about
sidewalk,
40%.
roads, trees, facilities like this.
Thank you.
Because Public Works would be general fund, fire would be general fund, but then water and sewer are their own.
Right. And there's other applications outside of even that. We could use it for code enforcement. We were talking about illegal dumping. I think one of the examples you showed us from another city, they were tracking homelessness. Obviously, that's not an issue here in Sierra Madre, but anything where we're cataloging and tracking information or data sets can all be put into a layer in the system to be utilized later.
And presumably, the system itself could actually report out at some point when it's maybe more fully functional, what the percentage of usage is for those various things. Like, we could actually track how much sewer, how much water, how much general fund, so we could actually be more precise than whatever kind of estimates we've done now.
Correct. And by call type too. How many are sidewalk repairs? How many are road repairs? How many are water leaks? How many are code enforcement complaints? The list goes on and on. We can see the proportionality of that and really understand what's driving demand and calls for services
And reallocate our budget,
accordingly.
potentially, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Anything more? Thank you so much. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
I
I move to approve the professional services agreement with Nobel Systems for a GIS asset management software and support services in an amount not to exceed $253,334.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the approval of a master lease agreement with oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for your presentation. You're one of the family already. You're just sitting here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, let's take a 5-minute break, a restroom break, if that's okay with everybody. Oh, yeah. All right, we are almost done with tonight's meeting, so if we can continue on. Thank you, everyone. We are going to move on to discussion item B, approval of a master lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management. And I believe we have a presentation. Right. Sorry, Director Dickinson. Getting your steps in tonight and your stand minutes.
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, yes, we're going to have a brief presentation by Enterprise Fleet here this evening for the Enterprise Fleet program that we're proposing to implement here at City of Sierra Madre. And I will introduce Leo Reyes and Dylan Goldsack. They'll do the presentation. You're welcome.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Leo Reyes. This is Dylan Goldsack. Just want to say thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for having us here today. As Brian mentioned, my name's Leo. I'm glad to be representing Enterprise Fleet Management. Been a part of Enterprise now for 7 years, 5 of which were spent on the Enterprise rent-a-car side that you may be more familiar with. There I was able to manage several stores ranging in fleet size from anywhere from 50 vehicles to north of 400 vehicles, which has then adapted and given me the skills to be able to now on the fleet management side relay to some of our commercial and government clients what it takes, having been there prior, and ultimately showing how we can leverage the Enterprise name in order to help them achieve their goals. So some of what we're going to cover in the brief presentation, a little bit about Enterprise Fleet Management, why cities choose to partner with us, the current status of the Sierra Madre fleet, and the proposal that Brian mentioned that we worked to curate for the city. So just jumping into it here, as mentioned, Enterprise Fleet Management, we're the sister company of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Though we are less known than the rent-a-car side, we have a very large presence when it comes to both the commercial and government space. Across the United States, we have more than 2,500 government partners. Locally, in Southern California, we have north of 150 government partners, vary in age. Some of the more local partners you may be familiar with: City of Pasadena, City of South Pasadena, City of San Fernando, and City of Oxnard. Some of those locations we handle both their white fleet as well as their PD fleet. What they've been able to do in order to come on board is leverage the relationship and our Sourcewell contract that we have been awarded. I understand currently today the City of Sierra Madre uses Sourcewell in order to find and locate some of the dealers and ensure they're getting the best buy. However, what we've been able to do for all of the aforementioned cities is leverage our Sourcewell contract to suffice that due diligence and no longer require them to go to RFP, thus streamlining the whole process and making sure that we create efficiencies. And it's the first way that we begin to centralize the fleet process, which in most of our partners isn't necessarily something centralized prior to us coming in. A little bit about what we do for all of the cities mentioned previously. We are a start to finish approach, everything from helping acquire new vehicles, upfitting said vehicles, tracking what is being spent on them throughout the life of the vehicle, and ultimately helping with the reseller disposal of the vehicle. Today's process here at Sierra Madre, from our conversations with your internal team, is handled through various different departments. We implement a streamlined process, giving you one point of contact. Every account receives a client strategy manager. In the case of Sierra Madre, it would be Dylan, who's here with me, and he would be your guys' one point of contact for anything needed when it comes to anything fleet related. Now, what we're doing today as far as implementing the plan here at the various cities is funded through one of 3 methods. The most common is what's up on the screen here today, an open-ended leasing model. What this allows for is the generation of cash flow savings versus the traditional way cities are purchasing vehicles today, whether that be just outright cash or financing it through dealership. And ultimately what this allows for is the beginning of a sustainable, proactive approach to fleet management, where you can plan ahead. The model presented later in the analysis is for 10 years versus being reactive and handling situations as they come up. Now, in order for fleet management to work, what we do here and what is depicted here on this graph is the three major buckets that we look at when it comes to each vehicle. First one being depreciation. What is it costing the city from acquisition all the way through resale, and how that lowers over time compared to fuel and maintenance, which begin to increase over time. What we find is most of our government partners prior to coming on board operate on the right-hand side of this graph, where the vehicle and the asset has depreciated a significant amount and is now beginning to cost the city more in maintenance and fuel than operating a newer vehicle. So what we do in order to lower the cost of procurement at the beginning, we apply for government incentives on behalf of the city. We leverage the Sourcewell contract. And once the partner is fully implemented into the fleet management program, we use the sale of the previous vehicle in order to lower that bucket. Ultimately, our goal is to shift our partners left into that optimal time to replace, where you still have tons of equity in the fleet in order to create sustainability and, again, a proactive approach. This here is a sample slide from another government entity out in the Antelope Valley, highlighting some of the key features that we want to achieve here for the city of Sierra Madre. Their useful life for this vehicle specifically to highlight was 60 months, same as the 5-year goal set by Brian and the team. And some of the key factors we want to highlight is the purchase price for the F-150 at the time, spending only $24,000 and reselling at the end, creating an equity of $12,000. So this partner, because they're operating in that optimal time to replace, over the course of the 61 months, what they truly spent is a net monthly depreciation of only $144 for a brand new truck, while still achieving all of those soft costs for the city and safer vehicles for their employees. Now, telling the story of where Enterprise Fleet Management and comes in for the city of Sierra Madre. Today, the city has 37 vehicles that it owns and operates for different use cases. Something to point out is just 20 of said 37 are over 10 years old. What that creates is unnecessary risk in the form of not having the standardized safety features for the drivers and so for the residents of the city as well. You're currently averaging 1.2 acquisitions over the last 5 years, which if you continued at that pace would take the city almost 30 years to replace every vehicle. The good thing here in regards to the city's fleet is because you're a government entity and don't necessarily travel as much as a commercial client, the average odometer across the 37 vehicles is only 50,000 miles. So that's great for when it comes to reselling the vehicle and taking advantage of said equity within the fleet. This more so is where the plan begins for the city. Currently focusing on safety, which is one of the biggest topics for all of our government partners. These here from 2018 back are some of the more impactful safety features that have now become standard across most manufacturers. What we look to aim for is on the right, currently 23 vehicles, so greater than 62% of your guys' fleet is currently missing 2 or 3 of these features, which we all more than likely have in our vehicles and forget how useful they really are. So we've come up with a plan over the next 5 years, replacing all of the light-duty vehicles, starting in year 1, really tackling that 23 vehicles that are missing those safety features. Here, what we're going to go ahead and start with is replacing everything in the next 5 years. All 25 vehicles would be replaced. On the right-hand side, you see the qualifications for replacement. What we're looking to achieve here is that 5-year new useful life cycle compared to the 30 being used today and implemented by the city. At a very high level, what you're looking at is year 1, replacing 13 vehicles, beginning with everything that's 10 years and older. That orange bar there to the side is what we would replace with an electric vehicle or a hybrid vehicle. Year 2, we would continue set replacement. ultimately going all the way to replacing the 29 vehicles. In year 2, you see an uptick in EV and hybrid replacements. This is due to the infrastructure still not necessarily being in place today, but I understand from our conversations with the internal team that that is something being discussed and getting worked alongside this project as well. So every year, we would go ahead and identify what vehicles we can electrify or turn into hybrids. That way, they can still be used for the vehicles, for the city's purpose, but not necessarily have to change anything in regards to the vehicle. Now, from the financial side of it, a lot of times replacing vehicles every 5 years seems like it's going to be not cost effective for the city or something that is an unsustainable model. What we've ran here is a projected budget for 10 years when it comes to the capital spend of the city. What we really want to highlight is years 1 through 5, there is an uptick in the capital spend. This is simply due to more and more vehicles getting implemented through the enterprise program. However, that sustainability becomes evident in years 6 through 10 when you're able to resell some of the vehicles you originally acquired through enterprise and use that equity to pay for some of the newer vehicles. So a big trend, you see it going from $4,000 per year in year 1 through 5 to north of 15. So again, what this is going to ultimately do is create that sustainability throughout the city's fleet. This is also accounting for adding electric vehicles whenever possible, which is historically more expensive than just sticking to the internal combustion engine. Now, this is a big shift for some of our city partners from what they're doing today, and we just wanted to highlight what partnering with Enterprise Fleet Management looks like in the first 12 months. There is a lot of hand-holding on our side just to make sure that the team feels supported. We have the support on all aspects. Harry and his team have already met our finance team. The Public Works team have met our aftermarket team. And again, everyone internally has met Dylan, who would be your assigned client strategy manager. There's 3 annual meetings. The annual client review, which is pretty much the city's opportunity to hold Enterprise accountable and make sure that everything that Dylan and I presented today is true and what happened over the next 12 months. Next one being the fiscal year planning, where we would go ahead and plan for next year's budget, and ultimately the fleet analysis meeting where we would finalize coming to council every year to make sure that we continue to hit on the goals for the city. Again, Enterprise has a very strong presence, not only in Sierra Madre, but in Pasadena and the surrounding areas. And we truly believe in strengthening our communities one city at a time, and something that we're very looking forward to doing with you guys as well. At this time, that is it, and just wanted to open it up for questions.
Council questions?
I just have a basic economics question, which maybe my colleagues understand better than I do. But if I sort of think about this in maybe what is more commonly thought of in terms of, borrowing money to buy a car, you have, a principal amount and you have interest, which, I sort of equate to, what you're talking about here in terms of the, financing the depreciation and kind of the equity value of the car, equity value being principal and the depreciation kind of being the interest piece. What I don't understand is if we are essentially paying, financing the depreciation, which I sort of view as the interest, which makes it kind of like an interest-only payment plan, how it is that the city gets the benefit of the equity in the car at the end of the lease term, because it's almost like we're not really paying for the principal, we're just paying for the depreciation. So can you just explain the basics of the economics here?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So the open-ended equity lease is very different from the traditional dealership lease. It's more so almost a finance to own. So every payment made by the city goes towards the principal balance, which is owned by the city at the end of the term. So no wear and tear clauses, no mileage restrictions, plus again, all the payments go to the city itself. So that net depreciation from purchase to resale, whatever is lost in that depreciation, is truly what the city is paying, because everything else would be coming back to the city.
And so at the end of the lease term, say 5 years, we can make the decision whether, and I suppose it's supported by you in terms of your market experience and analysis, as to whether it would be more beneficial for us to sell it and reap whatever profit, I guess, over the equity value, and then apply that, I guess, to a new purchase through the program, or retain, you sort of purchase it out of the lease, right? Like what people think about buying at the end of the lease, right? And keeping the car itself. And I assume that's part of the service, is that you help us analyze what makes more sense economically for a particular vehicle.
Correct. So every year, part of those 3 meetings that you would be having with Dylan, he would be running that analysis on all vehicles across the fleet, just because the term is set for 60 months. If at 60 months it's more beneficial for the city to hold on and continue, he would go ahead and advise that. Similarly, if at, for example, month 48, for whatever reason, there's an uptick in value of the vehicle, and it would be more beneficial for the city to sell at 48 months and purchase a new one, he would go ahead and provide the options. Ultimately, the decision of what gets done with the vehicles would belong to the city.
Got it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Please.
Can you explain to me the difference between the average age and average holding period? I was a little confused by that. The average age of our vehicles is 12.1 years, but the average holding period is 30.8 years. Does that mean we've got some vehicles that we're holding on for like 50 years? I mean, it's a very long tail.
Yeah, absolutely. So the difference is the average age is simply considering model year relative to today's year. The average holding period, historically over the last 5 years, the city has purchased 6 vehicles. If you continued at that pace to replace all 29 vehicles, it would take the city 30 years.
So it's the replacement time period of those. Okay.
Correct.
You said that earlier. It just didn't register.
No
Okay.
worries.
And so when we get the second to last slide, the one just before the questions, we've got an annual client review. So if we wanted to change what we were purchasing at the time based on cost or infrastructure or anything like that, we can adjust at that point in time. This isn't, aside from when we actually purchase things aren't locked and loaded. Is that right?
Absolutely. So nothing's set in stone. This is what makes the most sense financially today for the city. However, if in 12 months, when you have that annual client review, there is a different manufacturer you guys prefer to use, a different program implemented by the city where you want to shift to more electric vehicles or anything like that, at that time, everything is adjustable.
Got it. And do you provide advice for the use of vehicle? So, if we've got a vehicle and we've got a use type for it, do you help, say, well, you're currently using this type of vehicle, this, not necessarily make or model, but this structure type, or an SUV versus a sedan versus whatever. Do you make any suggestions relative to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually something we've been doing in the background with Brian and James. Originally, this fleet profile looked very different. It consisted of 55 vehicles. We were able to lower that down to 37 through James's help and talking to the different departments to identify which vehicles are actually being used. And then what we were able to do is get with Brian and our aftermarket team and say, hey, you have these different vehicle types. What are they being used for? Is this the best fit? Or can we suggest something that can fit what you need, but just do it better?
So where are the other 17 vehicles that aren't part of this? Like, what are those 17 vehicles that are not included in the 38?
Those vehicles were just listed as still being owned and operated by the city, but
So we don't actually have them.
they were already sold, or they weren't a part of anything.
They don't
Just
exist.
listed as.
Can I ask a follow-up question, though, that might be for Director Dickerson? So the 37 vehicles, I saw part of the report said that we're looking into whether PD can support that all. Is this all of our vehicles, fire, police, public works, code enforcement, et cetera, et cetera?
It is. The only sort of remaining outstanding question is when it comes to our PD vehicles, particularly like our PD patrol vehicles. The city was recently awarded $1 million from Congresswoman Judy Chu, and a portion of that million was to acquire additional police vehicles. So we're trying to figure out whether it's better, faster, cheaper, just purchase them, or to do that through the lease. Could we use the grant funds to offset a portion of the lease costs? We're still evaluating all of that with the DOJ.
Would that also change the equity in a vehicle if it is transferred into a public first responders vehicle? Because it takes a whole lot of different equipment that drills into it, that puts more wear and tear on it.
Yeah, so that's something that's accounted for in the analysis. As mentioned, a city like South Pasadena, they have their PD fleet through Enterprise. The city of Oxnard has their PD fleet through Enterprise, and we help them with that as well. So when we help them purchase the vehicle, we help them sell the vehicle at the end. The number that we're providing here is an average just based off like statistical data for all of our previous cities whose PD vehicles we purchase, upfit, and sell for them.
South Pasadena's are Tesla vehicles, so those are through your fleet?
Correct. Yeah, we were able to help facilitate the purchase and upfit of all those vehicles.
And I assume that every department gets to have a say in exactly what they needs and what their needs are in regards to vehicles and.
Yeah, we collaborated with all the departments on this item.
So going back to the mayor's question, not every vehicle is on this list, right? Our fire trucks aren't on here, are they?
Enterprise only offers traditional, like, commercial vehicles, your Fords, your Toyotas, et cetera.
Right.
Your specialty vehicles, like a fire engine or an ambulance, et cetera, that's not part of this
That's
program.
not on there, and none of our construction equipment, and then none of the bucket
No
loaders.
backhoes, no bucket, yeah,
Okay,
none of that.
so it's more what we would consider more consumer vehicles.
A Class C vehicle.
Yeah, we do everything up to 26,000 GVWR and below. So pretty much any 350 and below we can go ahead and do. And then we can throw some 450s and 550s in there as needed.
So what's your criteria for selecting an EV?
I'm sorry, for us electing an electric vehicle?
Yeah, for replacing something with an EV. You're proposing that we replace 7 vehicles with EVs and then another 2 or 3 with hybrid. So that's 18% of our fleet. How did you come up with the vehicles, which ones to include and which ones not to include?
Yeah, so what we ultimately did, and this may be a better question for either James or Brian, you have some electric vehicles already. We kept those electric. Some of the hybrid vehicles, we kept hybrid. The big jump there comes with some of the work trucks that James tasked us with replacing with an electric vehicle. Some of our city partners already do that, such as the Ford Lightning or the Chevy Silverado. So that's how we identified those specific ones. I don't know if he had something different as to why he chose those.
Got it.
Can you possibly get the Cadillac EV, the electric new vehicle, as a battalion chief car for the lower cost? Can that be?
Absolutely, whatever you guys want. I know we got some some internal jokes of getting some Lucids and some Rivians out here, so we can definitely make that happen for the city.
So I noticed that the police vehicles, none of the police vehicles are EV. Can you talk to a little bit of logic on that?
That was just a decision provided to us as far as keeping those, again, just internal combustion for now, with the infrastructure not necessarily being there. If in year 1 we shifted from the 2 electric vehicles you have now to 13, 15 of them, there would be nowhere to charge them, and it would be more of a headache for the city.
But other cities are going all electric with more of their fleet than what we are. And what we really need is the infrastructure more than the type of vehicle. It's not the use, it's the charging infrastructure. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have different city partners. Some have put a higher emphasis on switching early, whether that be for compliance or image, whatever that looks like. But ultimately, for the city, we can help facilitate electric vehicles wherever needed, as long as the use case makes sense and the infrastructure is there.
But can I clarify? I mean, I think the premise of your question is that the enterprise is making the decision on which of the fleet to electrify, and I'm pretty sure it's direction from staff.
I'm sorry. I understand that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, and I think it's a good clarification. I just wanted to make sure that we knew that there. If we wanted to, if staff wanted to, there's a broader array of vehicles, and it's at. And what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, is that your advice is that we don't have the charging infrastructure to really support more EVs, but if we wanted to, we could do that. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Okay.
And Councilmember Parker, so I'd just like to add that the police vehicles are among our newest. We just purchased the 3 Durangos.
Correct.
So naturally, they would kind of be at a later replacement schedule.
Yeah. And that's a good addition. Thank you.
Can I ask a question on one of your slides? If you go back to the open-ended leasing model? So we have enterprise on the left, delivered price 42,000, estimated resale 22,500, but we still have 10,000 in unpaid principal. So then you say the delta that we would get back is 12,500.
Correct.
Okay. But the way we do it, we buy vehicles outright, no financing. So we would pay 42,000, and then we get 22,500. So I don't see what the benefit is on this slide.
So this is more so directed for when the opportunity of the city is doing more with less when they have budget constraints. You are correct. If you were to purchase at $42,000 and sell at year 5, you would get the $22,500 back. Historically, the city's not necessarily doing that.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
but we could, right?
You realistically could. Again, it would just be more of a cash flow savings. If you're purchasing that many vehicles all cash, you can purchase 3 to 4 vehicles with 120, 160,000. If you did it where you leave a balance at the end, your monthly payments could sum up for less. Not necessarily that there's a savings in cash or anything cheaper by doing it that way, but if you have the same budget, you can replace more by not paying it all up front.
Okay. So, so by doing the math, there's an implied interest rate in there as well. Do you tell us what that is, or is that your secret sauce and you don't?
No, it's shared. Yeah, it's definitely shared. It's normally 300 basis points above the Treasury bill at the time, but it's something that's shared in the form of a quote.
So it'd be a 5-year Treasury or whatever it is, like to like, and then you would use a 3-year Treasury, 300 basis points on top of that.
So give or take maybe 6.5 to 6.8 today is what we're saying.
Okay.
But yeah, that's constantly changing and it will.
Yeah, and then you shouldn't. I mean, you got to finance it, right? That's how you guys make your money. I get it. And so, also, it's my understanding that obviously, if we bought a truck, we'd pay we paid sales tax on the whole thing. But it's my understanding that lease payments have tax attached to it as well. Is the tax just on the amortization of the purchase price of the vehicle, or do we also get tax on the interest portion as well?
So you're getting it on the use. Sorry, you're getting it on the use tax basis. So instead of paying it upfront, where typically you'd probably do today, it would be leased on the depreciated amount. So you're only paying the monthly use tax, which is added onto the lease. And then on the back end, when we sell it, there will be additional sales tax recapture that will be able to turn over to the city in addition to the equity.
Okay, so we're not really getting hit with the big tax bill because like you said, if we spent 42,000, we had to pay sales tax on that up front, but now we're paying tax throughout the process, and then if there might be an unwinding, and we get some money back potentially. Exactly. Okay. That's all I have for now, but I'm sure I can think of more.
I have some questions for staff that's not for. So first of all, I just on the fiscal impact in the staff report, there's some specific numbers about the total 5-year lease cost for 29 vehicles being about $1.8 million, but that would be obviously spread out over the period of time for replacement. We're not talking about obviously committing today to $1.8 million. It's just the average sort of if we had today's plan implemented, and that would cost over 5 years, but that's going to vary depending on the nature of the cars and all of that. And then in terms of, we're not committing now to putting, to actually leasing the full 29. Like if we decide at some point we like our model of keeping cars for 16 years, we could decide to keep this car or that car. I mean, this is all just a projection of what our current need assessment is, but we could decide at any point that we only want to lease 6 cars, or now we want to lease 45. Like that's it's fully customizable, correct?
Correct, yeah. The model that you guys see here today went through like various iterations in order to get here. But you are correct. If at any point you decide you don't want to lease any further, or if we suggest something and you want to do something otherwise, ultimately Dylan and I are simply the fleet consultants providing the information, but the decision lies with the city.
Right, and to the city manager's point, the grant money that we got from Congressman Chu's office, we could you're evaluating whether we can use that money in part to put into this lease program and perhaps buy outright, or if there are restrictions, we would just then buy outright, which might then reduce this 29 number.
That's correct.
Really quick, 'cause I thought it was earmarked for communication pieces for the vehicles.
There was a chunk for like radios, an additional upfitting, but also for the acquisition of vehicles as well. I'm looking back at Chief Barrientos. How many vehicles were in the grant that we received from Congresswoman Chu?
You guys have to come up to the microphone.
Or you can repeat.
3 to 5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Originally, it was for outfitting the communications within the units, but
also for the purchase of the vehicle.
Oh.
But not originally, I don't think.
I
but
think we
you
had
said it
two
updated.
two
Yeah.
cycles, right? We had an original grant application that didn't
it
get
didn't
put
get-
in,
yeah.
and then it got put in the second appropriation cycle.
Yeah.
And then, so then, I guess in the fiscal impact in the staff report, then it talks about the 1.8 million for the total lease cost over 5 years, as compared to if we were to buy the cars outright, it's a $1.2 million estimate, but that's specified as being at today's cost. So we would actually expect that 1.2 to be higher, because presumably if we were replacing a car 3 years from now, it's going to be more expensive than it is today. So that's not really we shouldn't really be comparing 1.2 to 1.8, because there's some assumptions there that actually might make it a little bit narrower.
That's fair.
Okay.
Well, and isn't it also that 1.2 just includes the vehicle, not necessarily the maintenance or the maintenance cost? Because in the sentence after it there is a position cost of $66,000 annually. So that takes the 1.2 up to 1.3 on top of that. So now you're even closing the gap more.
Yeah, and then there's fuel savings, and then there's additional, buying parts and supplies and the things that we have to keep in there. We were just looking at the cost.
Yeah. So it's
Position
not an
cost.
apples to apples.
We tried to get as close as we could.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe a Fuji to a Gala, but
Yes.
So that was my other question. Thank you for asking. I just want to continue on that. Not that we would do one car, but let's say we just wanted to lease one. There's no exclusivity contract or anything, or we want to lease 18 from you. It's all the same program, all the same pricing, all the same implied interest rate. Everything would be the same?
Correct.
Okay. And in this model, let's say we did want to hang on to it. Let's say we go through a lease. I think you mentioned in your presentation, or to answer one of the questions, there'll be a point in time when the payments stop and we just own the vehicle outright. That's also an option. So you're effectively, just like traditional financing through an auto dealer, if we take it all the way to the end, we could do that as well?
Correct, yeah. So going back to the open-ended equity lease that we have still up, if you get to the end of the term and you still have those $10,000 unpaid principal and you don't want to resell the vehicle, you would just continue to make payments on the same schedule until that $10,000 is paid off.
Exhausted. And then we own the vehicle?
Correct.
Okay. So I think it could, well, I don't want to get in the, I'll wait till.
Any more questions from council? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving this on to public comment. Do we have any public comment cards?
No emails or speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
And we'll move back to discussion.
So this could solve cash flow issues, obviously. Yes, we have to pay financing costs, but maybe we should have been doing that anyway to kind of alleviate the the ebbs and flows of cash flow instead of buying vehicles outright. It's probably makes sense not to pay interest, but we're pretty tight right now, and we do have to replace some vehicles, and we're not beholden to the whole program. We can if we decide we want to just do a few, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a win-win. Depending on what we want to do, I think staff is smart enough to have an understanding of what replacements we need ASAP. And I think that would obviously be priority.
Plus, we're going to save maintenance costs, and we'll be able to reassign some of the hours, some of the work into another area where we need that time. We wouldn't get that if we didn't do this, in addition to the cash flow.
Yeah, because
Improvement.
when we're buying vehicles, we're not buying the maintenance plan with them typically. We're just doing the maintenance in-house, correct?
Correct. And actually, Leo, if you wouldn't mind coming up, talking about the maintenance program and the telematics and some of those things as well, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that wheel of service, ultimately what's budgeted in there, when you acquire a new vehicle leased through Enterprise, it's budgeting in a fixed budgeted maintenance program. So we built the vehicle patterns for mileage depending on the use case, but ultimately it creates a standardized budget for the length of the term when it comes to their maintenance. So those numbers that you were seeing as far as the 268, that is including the maintenance on our side for the first 13 vehicles, and therefore increasing year after year as well.
But you also get to take advantage of the, well, maybe that's just from dealers, I don't know. So there's warranties when you buy a vehicle, like when I buy a vehicle, there's a warranty for 3 years for everything, and drivetrain's a little bit longer. Do you guys get warranties and you're able to take advantage of that? And is that savings passed on to us?
Correct. So any warranty offered to the dealership would continue to get honored through all the vehicles. Without making it very long, the way the program would work is anytime the vehicle is due for maintenance, you would go to an authorized shop through Enterprise. They would then take a look at it. It would get audited through our St. Louis headquarters by ASE certified technician. They would then decide or let the shop know, hey, this is a warranty, don't fix it. And they would advise whoever's listed as the contact that needs to get taken to the dealer. If it's something that's out of warranty or something that they would pay for there, then they would make sure that they're getting the Enterprise pricing on that, and then it would get passed along to the city.
And do you have a program, let's say it's the fire chief's vehicle, which is, a 1500 or whatever, that size of truck, and that goes in for warranty work or something. Do you have a program where he can get some type of like rental or anything like that, or do we have to do that on our own?
Yeah, so what we'll do initially upon activation and onboarding is my part is setting up with, it's called like a VIP rental service. So typically that's for the short-term rentals, 2 to 5 days max at a discounted price. Doesn't fluctuate throughout the year, which is great. But yeah, ideally if they were to turn in the vehicle and needed it for more than a few hours or more than a day, there's just a number that they'll be able to have access to. They'll have a mobile app as well that they can utilize, and they'll just get that rental reservation set up. And then our rental branch could then pick them up to get them into a rental. And what's even great to that is that there's going to be pass-through billing. So then all the billing is going to be streamlined and funneled through our leasing agreement. So you'll see your leases on there, you see your maintenance costs, rental expenses, everything is consolidated.
Can I repeat that for the microphone? Because people at home can't hear us unless you're on the microphone. So,
sorry.
no, it's okay. I can just say that. So yes, there is a rental agreement where if it's anywhere from a few hours to 2 to 3 days, 4 days, there's an ability to get a rental vehicle for that fleet position that's not being used or that is in maintenance. Yeah,
Exactly.
thank you.
So going back to the maintenance on it, for our maintenance, it's easy to do things like tire rotations and oil changes, but more and more vehicles are getting more advanced diagnostics on it. Do we have the diagnostics equipment here, or how do we handle some of those more, tricky things?
Well, I think some of our vehicles predate that technology,
Yeah.
so I don't know that we're plugging them into the.
Right. But the more, we were just talking about the Durangos we just got, and those
Yeah.
are like 2 years old, and so I imagine that they've got all the onboard diagnostics and.
I would imagine we do have some tool that, they plug it in and it gives them the code and tells them what the error is. If we don't, we're probably shopping it out to a local mechanic and having them do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do have the tool.
Yeah, the mechanics do have the tool.
Got it. Okay.
And Mike, did you want me to add about the telematics?
Yeah, really quick.
Yeah, so just kind of my thought there is we were talking about a telematics device that's through Geotab, and it's already been vetted and won the RFP through CARB and Advanced Clean Fleets. But that's going to be a tool that we could potentially implement that will be able to run those diagnostics every second, and it's a live update nightly, and then it gets all housed through your guys' platform.
So say a little bit more what the telematics does. I mean, okay, so it's recording information and uploads it nightly, but what's the information? How is it used?
So it'll run constant diagnostics, so we'll be able to show what the fault codes are, so then they'll be able to know exactly what they'll need to communicate to the dealer. So that will alleviate the burden of trying to figure out what the issue is and just make sure that it's streamlined. And then it'll also make sure, we're pulling updated information, so it's also going to do mileage updates, so we're having constant refresh data. It does safety inspections, geofencing, so we'll be able to see where the drivers are at all times if that's something that, a feature that you guys would like to have. But it's all encompassing the whole fleet, so all that data is going to be housed, also providing some diagnostics on the maintenance side.
Can you, I know it's not, I don't think it's within what we've been discussing, but within your slides, there's a fuel program. Is that something like Gas Boy or something? We'll have pumps on site, and you take care of that part of it, or is that we have like a card and we go to any?
Yeah, it's a card. We're partnered with WEX and consistently looking for other partners to encompass our portfolio, but currently right now it'd be a WEX card. We have the ability to use outside pumps, so they're approved at 98% of vendors. But then they also implemented a new EV tracking mechanism for the charging infrastructure, and then also a solution for on-site fueling. So we understand bulk fueling is a capability for a lot of government agencies, and so there's an ability to also track on-site fueling, and that information is then used to our annual meetings that we evaluate the fleet.
And is that the benefit to going through this program, or is the benefit having some type of card for employees to then use to then fill the vehicles?
Specifically for the WEX or the fuel?
Yeah, the WEX, yeah.
Yeah, for that, mainly the convenience of the data that we're getting. So we'll be able to evaluate that constantly, miles per gallon. It's going to evaluate fuel degradation. Obviously, we can't control the cost at the pump, but we want to, obviously control the vehicles, the technology that's constantly out there. So that's a tool that we'll be able to use.
Interesting, thank you. So what are we doing now as far as fleet? I know we have those pumps in the yard, but are we filling everything through there, or are we going to gas stations and filling police cars?
No, I think we're using the yard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any more discussion? Am I on? Yes.
So, I mean, I'll echo what I've heard others say. Is I'm in support of this. I think it's a good program. I think it's going to overall reduce some burden, get us more recent vehicles, which is going to have a lot of safety implications. I do, think that I'd like to see us continue our work on the infrastructure around this to build out the EV infrastructure so we can have more EV vehicles. We see some of our sister cities like South Pasadena that has all of their police vehicles as EVs. In addition, I was in New York City recently, saw a couple of EV there, and I just looked up. They had a press release earlier this month that said that by 2030, 5 years ahead of their schedule, all of their law enforcement vehicles are going to be fully electric. So I think it's something I'd like us to continue to consider. Granted, we've got 3 or 4 new Durangos right now, so it's going to be a couple of years before we get there, but I'd like to make sure we're kind of planning ahead for that future.
Just really quick too, I know South Pasadena's wasn't just the infrastructure issue. There was also the rotation of charging and how they're going to implement that. And one of the moments of feedback or items of feedback that we got from them is that they should have phased it in instead of 100% done
Right.
everything. And we are at SCAG. They do talk a lot about the different sustainability issues with vehicles and emergency vehicles. So I think that's a good task for us to look at too next week.
Yeah, and I think I like your idea of the phasing it in, right?
Yeah.
So as we go forward, like you said, if we put everything in all at once and there's a problem, then we've got a major issue. But if as we're replacing, but right now, in the schedule that we've got, none of the PD vehicles are currently on deck for replacement as an EV. And I think as we start looking at the 27 and the 28 replacements, that's something I'd like to see us, to reevaluate and increase the speed at which and consider having those vehicles as being EVs.
Any more discussion? All right, so I think we are all on the same page. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the master lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management for an amount not to exceed $1.811, basically, $1 million, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for coming tonight and giving us a presentation. All right, and thank you, Director Dickinson, for all of your presentations tonight.
Boy, he's been busy.
All right, our last item is the annual AB 481, the Military Equipment Report and Renewal of Ordinance Number 1456 for Military Equipment Use Policy. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I will be presenting on California Assembly Bill 481 and renewal of Ordinance 1456, which is Military Equipment Use Policy. Okay, what happened? Okay. Thank you. So Assembly Bill 481 was signed into law by Governor Newsom in 2021. Under Government Code 7070 and 7071, it requires law enforcement agencies to obtain annual approval from the governing bodies, which is the City Council, on funding, acquisition, and use of all military, or what they consider military equipment. We also posted on our website 30 days prior to provide an opportunity for our community feedback. We updated annual report of all equipment complaints and projected changes. Military equipment, there's 15 sections of what they consider military equipment. We only meet 3 of those 15 sections. One is unmanned vehicles, which is our drones. Second is our chemical devices, which is our pepper balls. And lastly, our kinetic energy weapon and munitions, which is our 40 millimeter launchers. So this is some of our equipment currently, the 40 millimeter less lethal Tippmann. We have 2 of those, and then we have 3 of the 40 millimeters, so a total of 5. Of those in the year of 2025, they were never used, so we didn't use them on a person or an animal. However, they're great for de-escalation situations. Secondly, we have pepper balls. We have 5 pepper balls. Those pepper balls were used 40 times in 2025, and they were all used on our bears.
Questions?
Do you prefer
Did they-
questions during?
Whatever you like.
Were they effective?
The pepper balls are
Yeah.
very effective on bears.
So they're, in terms of moving a bear in a direction away from something you don't want them at, or in a direction you want them to go, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
To redirect them
Right.
north into the foothills, yes, they're very effective.
Can I ask a technical question? When you say 2025, is that calendar year or fiscal year?
The whole calendar year.
Thank you.
And then, secondly, we have our Smith & Wesson semi-auto MMP assault rifles in each of the vehicles. Those obviously have not been used. We also have 3 Daniel Defense AR-15s. Those are fully automatic. They're required for our Foothill Special Enforcement Team, and that's standard among all SWAT teams or regional SWAT teams. Obviously not used. The next 2, let me back up, 3, the Autotel drones, those are old. They're about 10 years old. They're obsolete, so resolution is very poor. You can't fly them under inclement weather, like when we had our fires and the storms. So they're old. The batteries that we have swell up, so we could only fly them for about 20 minutes or less. However, though, we did replace them with our evidence fund. We replaced 2 of them, which is the DJI Matrix 4T, and then the smaller version of DJI Avata 2. And these have, let me back up over here. Give me 1 second. These can fly up to 50 minutes, max speed of 25 miles per hour. Obviously, like I said, inclement weather. They have sensors for wide angle, telephoto, thermal, and laser. They also have thermal imaging, AI-powered detection, high resolution, night vision, spotlights, and it also has return home feature. So it's a lot more technical. Last year in 2025, we only had one officer that had you have to have an FAA 107 certification to fly. It's a very difficult school to get licensed. We only had one, so we deployed it 5 times last year. However, we have 2 going to a course in the month of May, and we're sending another 2 so we could have 1 operator for each one of our shifts moving into next fiscal.
Are these the devices that we approved last year that also have, I think, a microphone even? You can,
That is
spotlights?
correct.
Okay.
That is correct. These are the 2 devices. that
Speaker,
was approved.
not microphone, other way around, right? The output of the microphone. Yeah.
That would be helpful in like
And
crowds.
yeah, most of the funding comes from local, state, and federal grants. You can repurpose city equipment, which means we could give it to some of our equipment to another agency. However, we can't sell it. So we can only repurpose and then transfer from one Department of Defense property to another agency under 1208 and 1033 programs. So we could take, let's say, an armored vehicle, hypothetical, I'm giving you a hypothetical, we don't need one. However, we could exchange it, take it for free, but we can't sell it. Or they couldn't sell it to us. They would have to gift it to us.
And do these items, they cannot, like those particular drones or unmanned small aircraft, they cannot be used by anybody but law enforcement that, or entities that are approved, like we're approving you for?
That is correct. But to be approved to use it, you have to have the FAA 107.
Yes. But I mean, those particular models, like you couldn't repurpose it and give it to the middle school for drone class?
No, ma'am.
Got it, thank you.
No.
So what do we do with those obsolete drones?
The obsolete, we have to figure out, we use those for training as of now. That way, if we drop them or damage them, it won't cost us. The other 2 additional drones that we replace are a little expensive.
I'm wondering if search and rescue through one of the sheriffs would ever be able to use them?
So we have the less lethal instructor, and this is just personnel, going into some of the training that I was talking about. Rifle certification, we have 1 officer going, or went, December of 2025, and I kind of laid out the cost, the drones, that the 2 that were replaced, and then the amount of ammunition is just what we have budgeted for our what is it, I can't think of it right now, but I'm having a, or our range masters, I'm sorry. I was losing it.
So it says up there that the ammunition replacement is quarterly, but it has a one cost. I assume that's the annual cost, and the quarterly cost is about $3,000?
That is correct. That's the annual cost budgeted, correct.
So what is you're buying ammunition replacement every quarter and maintenance every quarter?
That is correct. And also our FSET teams are required to train twice a month, and they require about 1,000 rounds a month.
And with the less than lethal instructor course, there's been quite a bit in the news recently of I think it was a USC student that had lost the use of an eye during a protest, being hit with a less than lethal round. How has training changed? How are you working with your team there to make sure that these things are used in the right way and we don't injure someone? I mean, this seemed like a situation that could have been avoidable based on the news reports. Clearly we don't have the whole story, but how are you making sure that you're keeping our residents safe, both the ones that are making our residents safe with still using these and not injuring them with a less than lethal?
Thank you for the question. So all of our officers are trained on de-escalation, In addition to that, we train every day in our briefing, scenario-based de-escalation techniques. The 40 millimeter launchers are usually used during protests or riot situations. I know the situation you're talking about, that was used during a riot. And during riot, usually they give it an order to disperse. So what happened, I don't have the specifics to that. I can't comment to that. However, the 40 millimeter can also be used in situations, for example, when you have an armed suspect with a knife. So the difference is, for example, OC spray works from 3 to 12 feet. We can't approach a suspect or a subject that's armed with a knife within 3 to 12 feet because he will gain ground and we would have to go into lethal force in a situation like that. So the 40 millimeter buys us 50 feet to de-escalate a situation. It's a difference. A taser, for example, applies 0 to 15 feet. With the newer tasers, it goes up to 20 feet. But a subject can also gain 20 feet really quickly, and that can turn into lethal force. So the 40 millimeter gives us another tool that we can use to de-escalate a situation to prevent using lethal force.
And so I appreciate that you're stressing the de-escalation. I think that's perfect. Is that what's also stressed in these courses?
Yes, absolutely. And it's part of our policy also. This is the compliance review. Any complaints? We've had none. Violations of policy, none. Unauthorized use or deployment, 0. Future acquisitions, we have none. If you look at our call volume, 36,000 plus calls last year, we had 2 uses of force, and it was all bodily force that was used. I think if we do the numbers, it's very, very low. 2 out of 36,000 calls, which means that our officers are working within department policy and the use of force policy. The approval will allow Sierra Madre PD to continue to track and deploy equipment, provide less lethal options to minimize risk and alternative use of force options, provide and maintain standardized training, policies and procedures aligns with national police practices. If impacts denied, removal of current equipment, change in policies and procedures, negatively impact on the public and personnel, increased liability and risk. So the staff recommends, or we recommend, approved military equipment use policy and continued use of equipment. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Very thorough. Thank you so much. Questions from council?
Any other questions?
And do we have public comment on this item?
No public comment, ma'am.
In discussion, I think your presentations have been so thorough, and we asked so many questions last year that made it so understandable that I think we're doing much better at being, we understand now exactly what this all entails. Any more discussion?
No.
May I have a motion?
Thank you.
Move that we approve the annual military equipment annual report per military equipment use policy, section 706, that have also been updated per the guidelines of California Government Code 7072 in compliance with AB 481 and ordinance number 1456.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Excellent. All right. Items for future agendas. Did we want to add the allowing the Planning Commission to approve tentative parcel maps and not come to us unless they're under appeal? Did we want to move that forward with that?
Can I just ask a question? Are we planning any overhauls in like I know sometimes we just do kind of a cyclical overhaul of certain things. Is there one in the works?
Not to the portion, not to Title 15, which deals with maps. So no.
Is there any other interest in that, or is it just me?
I mean, I'm interested. I mean, wouldn't do it solely for that because I think it's a heavy lift to amend the statute. But I certainly think we should, to the extent that we're keeping like a running list of things to, change when we get there. I think
Is that direction for you?
Sure.
Anything else? All right, can I,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have stickers for you guys from Cal Cities. Uh-huh. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff.